You've been hearing a ton of stories about how terrible the new Cats movie is, but I can assure you, it's worse than you're imagining. This movie is stinkier than two septic tanks colliding and erupting into a volcano of shit. It is a bad movie. I'm not going to put it on the moist meter. Normally I moist meter movies, but this is one I really want to get into because I genuinely cannot believe that this was put on the big screen with the cast that it has. It is nuts. I took a shit at the movie theater before the movie, which is very rare for me. I don't usually have to unload ass before a movie, but I couldn't hold it this time. And the process of the turd leaving my asshole and hitting the water was a more thrilling adventure than the entirety of the movie. It is just so boring and bad by all possible measures. And it doesn't take long to figure out that it doesn't look very good. If you watch any of the promotional material, you can see how bad the cats actually look. And in the full movie, they're even worse because a lot of times the quality dips on some of the cats, so they look even worse. They look like fucking Lara Croft's polygon tits from the PS1 in their face. It's weird. It reminds me of the old Xbox 360 feature that they tried out for a little while where you could scan your face with a little webcam and then you could put it on your NBA character or your Rainbow Six Vegas character and it always looked like some type of car accident victim on your face. That's how the cats look in this. Their little CGI shit here, it looks terrible. And the cats move around really weird, so they're always on like all four, kind of prowling around, but then sometimes they'll stand up and start snapping and shit like this, which I guess is supposed to look like, you know, how cats move. But I've never seen a cat that moves like that. They fucking move around like zombies, like these drunk ass zombies. It looks like Lego figurines that are being like snapped around and broken for a machinima. They move hauntingly. And I had to fight to stay awake in this movie because it was so genuinely boring where every song ended up sounding exactly the same and there's only singing. There's no like actual story or dialogue. There is a story, but there's no like actual dialogue to get it across. It's only expressed through song and dance, and all of the songs and dances are so similar that I was just falling asleep. But I didn't want to fall asleep because I didn't want to miss a second of this train wreck, and I knew if I fell asleep there I'd be having some absolutely horrible nightmares and I'd wake up fucking semi-chubbed and covered in piss or something, because it's horrifying. Everything looks terrible in this movie. It looks awful. A truly awful looking movie. And there's some really weird looking cats too. Like there's one called like Scrimble Skank, or Scrimble Cat, who's like a railway cat, and he looks like Super Mario if Mario was a tap dancing stripper. The choices on these characters' looks is so disturbing throughout the entirety of this film. I just can't believe that people would sign up for this. I'd rather have my sex tape leaked than be caught acting in this movie. It'd be less embarrassing. Being put on the sex offenders registry would be easier to explain to friends and family than explaining your role in this film to them. It's just so embarrassing. And apparently the actors and actresses went to cat school for this. I can't even imagine what that kind of training dojo would look like. It must smell like shit, full of just like degenerate actions going on there. But apparently they went to cat school to learn how to act like cats, and it doesn't show. That training did not pay off. They autopiloted those courses, or those teachers, those senseis, just they don't know what they're teaching because nothing looks like cats in here. I could have acted in this as one of the cats, and it would have been right at home with what everyone else was doing. It was the most simple actions, like how a 4-year-old would act like a cat. It's not like they really showed that they had this kind of immense training in cat actions and the physiology of cats, method acting. It's just really garbage. And this movie has a story. It's not good, but it does have one, and there's only 2 plot points in it. I'm going to get into some spoilers now just to talk a little bit more in depth about what makes it bad aside from just the obvious stuff. The story is as follows. Spoiler. The cats are competing to ascend and be reborn. It's a competition among all these cats to be reborn, and the entire movie is bringing in new cats that have their own theme song and dance. So it's basically just WWE intros for all these new cats that come in that want to be reborn. And the main villain is Nightcrawler. He has the powers of Nightcrawler from the X-Men, who can just, snap his fingers and he says like meow and he vanishes into dust and then transports people onto a ship to get them out of the contest. Those are the only 2 plot points, that villain and that note. And towards the end of the movie, there's a cat who's been alone this entire time, and all that cat wants to do is have friends and be accepted into society. And at the end of the movie, the main character brings that cat in, and everyone falls in love with that cat. She's got all these friends. And then the main cat, Udo Thurninobidian, I already forgot the goddamn name because the names are goddamn awful. It's impossible to remember them. But the main cat that's choosing who ascends, decides that that cat should ascend. So how does she ascend and get reborn? Well, naturally, they send him away on a goddamn air balloon suicide mission. So this cat that just wanted friends this entire time finally gets all of her friends. She's in this club now. She's part of the family. Is chosen to ascend on a fucking suicide run. Like, that's not a satisfying conclusion. You know, you have this whole movie built up over how great the being reborn and shit it's going to be. You know, everyone's fighting for it. And then finally, the one cat that gets everything she wants and is finally part of this family gets it taken away, gets thrown into this fucking flying chandelier hot air balloon contraption going straight to heaven. I mean, that's not a good conclusion. Like, if you think about that, that's fucking sad. She went the entire movie totally alone and is finally brought in only to have it immediately taken away, and it's supposed to be like a reward? I mean, you don't see her get reborn. She doesn't come back. She just gets sent off to God knows where. Maybe she doesn't even die. Maybe she just gets stranded and alone again in an unfamiliar area. It's a sad fucking conclusion. But it's not supposed to be. This is supposed to be like the highest reward possible, but it ends up being like suicide. It reminds me of like cult. I feel like these cats were just like this giant cult where they indoctrinated everyone, and now they're making her drink the Kool-Aid. It's terrible, and it's silly. It's weird. They're singing all these happy songs, but the whole time I'm thinking, this girl just got everything she wanted, and now you're killing her. You're sending her into the sun. It's a fucking weird conclusion. The whole movie's just not good, and it has these awful, awful, awful attempts at humor. The worst I've ever seen in the big screen, and I don't say that lightly. Genuinely the worst attempts at comedy possible, but you knew that was coming since James Corden's name's on this. But they actually, unironically, unashamedly say things like, look what the cat dragged in, or don't mess with the cat lady. It's bad. Super goddamn bad. And the last goddamn musical number in here lasts 5 minutes, and it's a tutorial on how to talk to your cat. It's horrible. And I really cannot explain why they decided to take it from the stage play to a movie, because at no point in this movie do they use anything that a play doesn't. The only thing this movie has that the play doesn't is horrible CGI. That is the only thing this movie has that makes it a movie outside of the play. Everything else could have just been a play that they recorded here. It is terrible. There was no reason to take it from a play to a movie if they're not even going to use anything movies can offer. There's really no incredible effects. There's nothing. It seems like most of it's like practical effects anyway, or at least it could be. The only two effects that they couldn't get in a play that they get here is the dust particles when the bad guy vanishes, McCavity when he vanishes, and the horrible, horrible, shitty CGI that this movie would be better without. I don't understand what the point was in translating this to a movie. It made it even creepier and significantly worse. I've never seen the play. I have no intention to, but I know that the play is definitely going to be better than this, because one of the biggest problems with this is how garbage and shitty it looks, which the play wouldn't suffer from because it's actual people and costumes and effects. Here it's horrible, 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 horrible animation that falls apart constantly. Sometimes if you look at the background characters during their dances, their limbs get all like fucking noodly, like in the DC movies when like the Flash runs and his limbs start popping out of place and he looks like a goddamn fucking wet noodle flying around. Yeah, some of the cats have that problem in the background here too. It's just not good. No matter how you spin this movie, even if you're a fan of musicals, like the biggest possible fan, the musicals don't translate well. Because there's really like almost, well, I can't say no effort given to them because there is, but it's just not well done because the musicals all blend together and become so samey that you start to wonder which musical you just heard and for what cat and what it was about and was it even good? And the answer is no, because it really isn't. It's just a really shitty movie, and it's so horny. This movie is so incredibly horny. I felt like I was watching an illegal fetish. It's just a fucking really over-the-top sexual kind of movie. It's silly and sad and scary. Made me feel a lot of things movies don't make me feel. But I can assure you it did make me feel good. That's the one thing I can say for certain. I don't see who would enjoy this movie. I'm sure some people will somewhere out there. You know, I don't even see furries liking this because this is not even furry bait. This doesn't even fall into any category or niche of furryism. This transcends everything we thought we knew about furries and shitty musicals. It's nuts. It's really bad, and I wouldn't recommend it even as a so bad it's good experience because it was so bad that it made me want to fall asleep. But I didn't want to because I don't like missing bad movies. It's just a boring, bad, not good, not fun time that I can't understand what the point of making it was. That's it. So yeah. Yeah, I saw this movie last night. I'm sure almost none of you had any interest in seeing this, but I still have to rant about it anyway. It's not a horror movie per se, but I think it kind of billed itself as one, so I went into it expecting it to be one, and I think most people are under the impression. It's one of the sillier films of the year. I don't think it's worse than Tarot. I don't think it's worse than The Strangers. But man, this was still so bad. And what's really cute is that it actually has the old lady from Tarot. So she now has an incredibly stacked 2024, where she has now been in 2 unbelievably atrocious stinkers. And that's kind of admirable. And she plays the exact same character in this movie as she did in Tarot for the most part. The premise is cool. So I actually like the premise. The premise is basically Dakota Fanning, she finds herself in the forest after a pet delivery gone wrong. And she stumbles upon this weird building with these 3 strangers in there. And every night, they have to lock themselves in, and they get watched by mysterious entities on the outside that they can't see, they can only hear. And it lends itself well to some kind of cool mystery. But does anyone care about spoilers? I can't imagine anyone really gives a fuck. Like, is anyone gonna shake their fist at me like, how dare you? If I get into spoilers? Okay, most people are saying no, they don't care about spoilers. If you care about spoilers, my apologies. You can write a strongly worded letter to the manager. So, the film has a cool premise. And about halfway through the movie, probably not even halfway through the movie, they kind of just immediately show their whole ass and they tell you what the Watchers are. And you get to see the Watchers, and they're basically just like these generic tall slender men. And it turns out they're fairies. Like evil fairies. And then the movie dives into like actual Tumblr fanfic, where it's like, before the war, there was humans and fairies living in peaceful symbiosis. We coexisted with the fairies together, but we feared their shape-shifting abilities, how they could become us. So we ripped off their wings and we forced them underground and we locked them under a stone. And now, they can't leave this forest because we asked them not to, basically. So, what they're being watched by is fairies that study them so that way they can take their shape better. It's so fucking dumb. This is not Oh, yeah. So it's not M. Night Shyamalan, it is his daughter. This is a Shyamalan family production, basically. And in classic Shyamalan fashion, it's a cool premise that they had nothing good to do with it, past the idea, like the ideation. So let me just start breaking down some scenes for you. So, shit just happens for the sake of it happening without any explanation for why this shit is happening. So it starts off okay because the premise is fun. And then as things start to unfold, Dakota Fanning is rebellious and she's got a dark and mysterious past. And she decides to start breaking the rules that the old woman has set. One of the rules is don't go into the burrows because that's where the Watchers come out. And she goes into the burrows with the help of this guy. I forgot his name. She goes into the burrows and she sees like bicycles and like children's toys and stuff. And then all hell breaks loose because the fairies start shape-shifting. But they know this. Like, there's no explanation given, really, like a good one, for why the fairies can't leave the forest. They could just walk out of the forest. There is an explanation given for why they can't leave, the humans here, because they're lost and they can't be out at night because the fairies hunt at night and they don't like the sun. They're like fucking vampires. So they can't leave the forest. I get that. That makes sense. But the fairies, the only explanation for why they can't leave the forest is because they were forced underground thousands of years ago. But they could just walk out. Like, there's no magical force field preventing that. They could just walk the fuck out and then dig a hole. Like, they're afraid of the sun, walk out during the night, dig a hole, stay there during the day, get out of the hole, walk out in the night, dig more holes. It turns out there was a professor who built this building and who built this bunker underneath the building because he's been studying the fairies. And this was highly unnecessary to even include in there. They just wanted to make him like an evil guy. He's like, he recorded himself with this webcam. He's like, sailor's log, 2009. I started construction on the bunker. I hired locals from the town nearby for fucking 5 schmeckles an hour to build it for me. And I urged them to stay out at night so they'd get mauled and killed by the fairies. Lord, forgive me for my sin. But it's like, brother, you didn't have to do that. Like, you didn't have to just have them die. Like, that's highly inefficient, because then you have to go get more workers every single time and recycle over their dead fucking corpses. Like, you would have to walk over so many bodies for that to happen. You could have just, like, had them do the work, and then had them go home before it gets dark out, and then have them come back. Like, you didn't need that. But it's things like that. Eventually he catches a fairy, and he's, like, training it like a pet. So they're watching these videos of him training the fairy, like learning from the fairy, and then randomly in his last entry he's like, I've got to kill it. I've got no choice. I'm gonna take it behind the barn and I'm gonna fucking shoot it in the heart, and then I'm gonna shoot myself. For no fucking reason. It's like he spent like 100 days with this fairy in a cage, and then he's just like, you know what, I'm tired of playing with this toy, I'm gonna kill it and then kill myself. So he does. Or so you think. So it turns out that fairy was actually a half fairy. Because thousands of years ago, fairies and humans used to fuck. And what happened is, they gave birth to halflings that live amongst us in secret. And that fairy that he captured was a halfling. One that could walk in the day. They called her the Daywalker. Her real name that she said was Arinthabuna or something. Arintha Rancor, Balrog, I don't remember. Something like that. But all this is just like getting vomited at you all at once towards the end of the movie. It's just like an overwhelming amount of just nonsense. Anyway, the professor eventually in one of the recordings says, hey, I left the boat over there. You can just like go this direction, get on the boat and leave if you want. So they do. And while they're going there, keep in mind, they're fully aware that all of the fairies can change their shape into human beings. This fucking goober here, this absolute imbecile, as they're running towards the boat, he hears one of their friends in the forest and, like, struggling. He's like, John, help! I think his name is John. He's like, John, I need help. Please. Please. And he's like, I'm coming! So he grabs the guy, and turns out it's not John. So then he dies. And they take his shape. And then they sail into the town. And then, big plot twist, the old lady was a fairy the whole time. She was the halfling the professor kept as a pet. Because it turns out the professor had a wife, and the wife died. And the professor tried to train a halfling, or tried to train a fairy to shapeshift into his wife so he could keep fucking her. And that's who this is the whole time. It was a fairy. So, like, his whole thing was like, their shapeshifting abilities can bring anyone back from the dead. Which they can't. It's not resurrecting the dead. It's literally just cosplaying as the dead. It's LARPing as a dead person. So him having this galaxy brain scheme of bringing his wife back never had any water to it, like no salt, because his wife is still dead. You're then just... You have a puppet of your wife. That's it. At that point, just get a doll, right? Like, it's stupid. His plan is stupid from the beginning. And then... she's mad because fairies hate humans because of what they did, which is why the Watchers watch them and, like, kill them if they break the rules. They study them and then kill them because they're mad. 1,000 years worth of bad blood and a grudge. But when old lady is confronted by Dakota Fanning in the climactic final battle, Dakota Fanning's like, I know what it's like to not feel like you belong. Because it turns out her dark and mysterious past is she got her mom killed because they were on a road trip, and she was like a little brat who rolled down the window, and the mom was like, can you roll up that window? And then Dakota Fanning's like, I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! I'm not rolling down the window! I'm not rolling down the window! So the mom's like, what are you doing? Why are you freaking out? And she's like, I'm gonna roll up the window myself. So the mom starts rolling up the window, and Dakota Fanning's character puts her fingers out the window and gets them crushed, and she's like, ah! And then the mom's like, what happened? And then she crashes into a car and dies. So she carries that guilt with her the entire time. And she, like, trauma dumps that towards the end. So then the halfling gets all of that information, and Dakota Fanning's like, the professor never told you? You're half human. And she's like, no, I can't be. I'm so conflicted. And then she's like suffering from the revelation that she's half human, half fairy, and then her wings pop out of her butt, and then she flies away. And now she's looking for more halflings.
It is. It's pretty fucking bad. It's pretty bad. But it's not nearly as bad as some of the other trash this year. But I like, there was multiple times where I did this, like I gestured this emote, because it was they were just making things up out of nowhere with no real payoff or build up to it. They're just like, oh yeah, end this. Oh yeah, end this. Because of that. Because I said so. Should watch a bad movie in the sub Discord with everyone. That's kind of a fire idea. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because I saw this last night. I just had to relay the information. No, I really think the Shyamalan family has great ideas. This is a cool premise for a movie. What they need, what the Shyamalan family desperately needs, is somebody to flesh out their premise better than they can. That's what they need. Like, this movie could have probably slapped.
I know it's a little early to call this, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the books that I think we just got the worst movie that 2024 will experience. We basically got the Lord of the Rings Gollum for movies already this year. And I know I said something similar when Night Swim dropped a couple months ago, but I think Megamind 2 Doom Syndicate is much worse, and I'd like to explain why. It just dropped today, and I've already had the entire day ruined by watching it, so I wouldn't wish that curse upon my worst enemy. I know that's not shocking news, there's no one surprised to hear that this is horrible, but I was certainly surprised at just how atrocious it is. Just by giving it the old eyeball test, everyone who looked at any of the trailers or like the 6-minute sneak peek they gave could immediately recognize that they really brought their A game when making Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate. And by A game, I mean ass game. This shit looks like turbo ass. Fuck me, it's an eyesore to watch. And the only known cure for sore eyes, as recommended by optometrists, is Godslap, baby. That's right, the worst movie of the year may have just dropped, but the best comic of the year just came out. Godslap issue 5 is here right now. You can pick up a copy at badegg.co, link in the description. First of all, it follows a beloved animated film from 2010. The original Megamind was a huge hit, people really liked it, and that was 14 years ago. So it's old enough now to be calling your mother a whore on Xbox Live. And out of nowhere, Peacock announced that they were going to be releasing the sequel this year. And people were pumping their fists like, yeah, more Megamind, let's go! Until they watched the trailer. Immediately, you can see that the Megamind sequel looks significantly worse than the original. Not only does it look worse than the movie from 2010, it looks worse than the video games from 2010 that were just shovelware. The Megamind PlayStation game, which was legitimately just a quick cash grab because that was during the era where every movie had a subsequent game release, just to continue double dipping, double fisting into the consumer's pocketbook, it somehow looks worse than that game, which again was just a quick cash grab. So what was the point? I don't really get it. After watching the movie, it really seems like they did this purely out of obligation, or they did this to test if AI could make a full movie. And I know that's a criticism that gets tossed around a lot, but I really do think AI had a strong hand in the creation of Megamind Doom Syndicate. There's just no reason for its existence. I'd call it a waste of money, but it doesn't feel like they spent any money on it in the first place. Like everyone could recognize from the trailer, it looks horrible. It's as cheaply made as possible. Jimmy Neutron is more visually appealing than this. I don't get why the fuck they'd make it to begin with. It's not like they even really had a story to tell either. It's as simple as it gets. Megamind's the hero now. The Doom Syndicate, they want him to be evil again, so he puts on this facade that he's evil and only pretending to be a hero. And it's just such a snooze fest. Like, nothing happens at all because they didn't want to animate anything at all. So even when you reach the end of the movie where they're having like the final showdown between Megamind and the Doom Syndicate, it looks like you're watching a scene out of the Butt Ugly Martians. They put no effort into any aspect of this. I thought maybe they were saving the budget for the final fight, but that was actually the worst animation for the entire film, surprisingly. So the final fight, it's basically one move for each member, and it defeats them. So, the hypnotist, he gets defeated because Megamind pours a little bit of concrete on him. The lady who's controlling the weather, shooting lightning, she gets defeated because he has her shoot the lightning, and it redirects at her,
and it defeats her. And her defeat is a clip I'd really love to play because it is the perfect example of how lazy this shit is. The lightning hits her and she's like, ooh! And then they don't bother animating anything, so what they do is they just drag her down and then she falls over. The word stiff doesn't even do it justice. It really feels like this was left in by accident. Like it was like the pre-viz, before they go in and polish it up, but then they just said, fuck it, run it. Just print it as is. It's so bad. There's nothing in here that's even remotely interesting. The writing is just the safest, by-the-numbers, formulaic lines ever, non-stop puns out the wazoo, which really makes me feel like AI had a large role to play in it, because a lot of the puns feel like something ChatGPT would spit out if you're trying to do like a comedy night with it. It just doesn't work at anything it even aims to do, because it doesn't aim to do anything. It's just actually a waste of an hour and 25 minutes. I think it's actually just there to be noise for children. Like, there's no other purpose for it. It's just a lot of fucking noise for kids. But it doesn't realize that in this day and age, kids get unlimited amount of noise through things like TikTok, where parents just sit them down in front of an iPad and they just endlessly doom scroll TikTok. This is going to be boring even to them because the attention span has rotted so far, deteriorated to such a alarming degree. This wouldn't do anything. Like, I don't think kids are going to be, Megamind Doom Syndicate fans, because it's fucking boring. I can't think of a single redeeming quality about this movie. Pretty much no one can. It has like a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes, so not even like the most generous critics in the world can drum up a single compliment for it. I would hesitate to call this better than Food Fight, which is that animated disaster that I'm sure everyone remembers because it's been memed to death. It is infamous in how bad Food Fight is, and I would say that this isn't really any better. I would actually say that this is more soulless than Food Fight at the very least. The only thing worse than watching Megamind Doom Syndicate is watching Megamind Rules, the TV show spin-off that they also released the same day as this movie. So, big surprise if you didn't get this news. They released this sequel movie, Super Stinker, and then they also said, and guess what? There's more, and released an 8-episode TV series. And holy shit, the TV series is even worse. I didn't watch all 8 episodes, I couldn't. I made it through 3. I don't know if there's a human being strong enough on this planet to power through all 8 of those episodes without blowing their brains out. It is torturous. It's so insultingly bad. And yes, I get that this is made for kids, but that doesn't mean that it has to be unwatchably shitty. Avatar: The Last Airbender. The primary audience was made for kids, but anyone of all ages can appreciate it. A good show, even if it's aimed at a younger audience, can be appreciated and enjoyed by people of all ages. That's the sign of good, high-quality entertainment. This is definitely not that. I think they would have been better off just making a Megamind world in Fortnite custom games. It would have at least been a little more entertaining, I imagine, if you put little mini games in there or something. But watching the movie or the show here is just not worth it at all to anybody of any age, I imagine. Like I said, I don't see this being a hit with children because it's, at its core, boring. It's a nothing burger. There is nothing that happens in the show or movie at all. At most, what you'll get is Megamind firing his blaster, and that's it. There's really nothing else. The villains barely use their powers at all, really. I mean, they kinda do, but they only use it for like a single projectile each, mainly. It's just, it's so lame. I don't think anyone is going to like this at all. And I'm not saying the only way for this to have been successful is to have a ton of action or anything, but Jiminy Christmas, it certainly would have helped keep you awake when watching it. The writing is just so bad. Like, even like for a kid's show, it's bad. SpongeBob is a kid's show, and that has great writing. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are or anything. It has great writing if you're fucking 3 years old or 30 years old. Megamind, I don't think it's going to appeal to any age whatsoever. Like, if you put this on, if you put on Megamind Rules while you are pregnant, even your fetus would be bothered by it. It'd start kicking and throwing a tantrum inside your belly. It'd be trying to find ways to strangle itself with the umbilical cord or something. Like, it is miserable. No one, I think, will like this. Megamind vs. Doom Syndicate sucks as a movie. Megamind Rules sucks as a show. it was a waste of time. A complete waste of time. So yeah, that's really about it. See ya. I wasn't even going to bother covering Halo Season 2 because it doesn't seem like most people care about it anymore after how abominable Season 1 was. It was an affront to God that insulted the very technology that gave us the ability to watch moving pictures in the first place. Halo Season 1 was atrocious. So there were very low expectations going into Season 2, but as I said on stream multiple times, the first 2 episodes I actually thought were going in a pretty good direction. Like, I was impressed. It seemed like they did bring on new people that were familiar with the property, and as I understand it, they did. And you could kind of feel a little bit more passion being put behind this project. However, there were still the remnants from Season 1 that they couldn't just write out, so instead they had to kind of change trajectory with all of these, like, pieces that were grandfathered into Halo Season 2, and I liked what they were doing with characters that were previously super underwhelming. They were putting them in more interesting positions in the overarching story as opposed to these like snooze fest side plots that no one gave a fuck about. But then this show fell back into its old ways, it stumbles, and it just starts going in the worst directions again. Until the season finale, which I actually thought was handled pretty well. There was a lot of really cool shit in the season finale, but then, even still, there was some really stupid shit too. Because it seems like in this series, the way the plot advances is by characters making really dumb, out-of-character decisions. Like, really fucking, like, everyone happens to be getting pumped full of fucking stupid juice. And they'll just all of a sudden do something dumb, which then advances the plot in a big way. Like, that is something that's happened a couple of times now. But I do think Halo Season 2 is an improvement over Season 1, which of course isn't like the biggest compliment you can give, because that's a pretty low bar, but I am happy with some of the things about it, but overall, again, disappointed, because it's still not good. By no means is Halo Season 2 great or anything. And I wasn't going to talk about this because everyone expected it to be bad anyway. I'm not exactly enlightening anyone here by letting you know that, yep, Halo Season 2 is also bad. But then I saw this Kotaku headline. Halo Season 2 sticks the landing, I told you so. Halo series naysayers, show yourselves because the Paramount Plus show is hitting all the right notes. If those notes are fart sounds, I guess, the sound of like a fucking wet B flat in your trousers. They go on to say that it does everything a video game adaptation should do and then some, and then goes on to say that they've been saying for over a year that the show is good. That is mind-boggling to me. Like, I understand there's differences of opinions, but this opinion is so bad it should be borderline criminal. Like, this is something that should have you undergo like a psychiatric evaluation. What do you mean this is what every video game adaptation should do and then some? How? It doesn't use anything from what it's adapting. It doesn't take anything from the actual source material. It's telling its own fanfic, and it's doing an extremely poor job of it. Halo Season 1, they've been talking about this show being good for over a year, meaning they must have enjoyed Season 1. Halo Season 1 is bad, even if you don't know what Halo is. On its own 2 feet, it stumbles and eats shit. Halo Season 1 is just bad television, no matter how you spin it. It is a show that had a huge emphasis on the worst parts of television. For some reason, there was this fixation on showing Master Chief's cheeks, which is what gave it the title of Master Cheeks, because there were so many ass shots of him for no reason. I've already made a video covering everything I think that's wrong with Halo Season 1, so I'm not just going to regurgitate all of those points here. But the point I'm making is that this is not what video game adaptations should be by any means at all. The Halo television series is unrecognizable from the Halo franchise that it's taking from. The only thing they share in common is names and armor. That's it. You're not going to find Master Chief fucking a human that happens to be part of the Covenant, literally steaming her ham in the middle of this war by playing Halo 1 through 3, reading the books, or even, God forbid, playing the 343 Halo games. That is exclusive to just this misguided television show. Now, as I've always said, there's no point in adapting things one-to-one, because what's the point there? You need to take it in different creative directions, but this is so outlandish in the Halo universe that it doesn't have a connection. There's no point in calling it Halo. At least, this is still me talking about Season 1. I ended up focusing on that too hard because of how ridiculous that statement was in this article from Kotaku. And I know Kotaku is on life support right now, just pumping out as much rage bait as they can to try and get as many pity clicks and desperation as they can possibly muster. I get it. They're in their death spiral. But this still, like, even knowing it's rage bait was enough to make me just want to come in here and talk about Season 2 since it wrapped up. Now, going back to this, there is one thing that I do agree with them on. It's this last sentence. Action sequences felt tighter and better choreographed, emotional beats hit when they were supposed to, and the interwoven story threads made for incredibly watchable television. What I agree with from that statement is that last part. Watchable television. That's not the high compliment that the writer thinks it is. Calling something watchable is like the bare minimum. That's like the lowest possible thing you can say. That's like if you're getting bullied and the teacher makes the bully say something nice to you. Like, that is like the tiniest compliment you can give it. And that's what I can say about season 2, is that it is watchable, and I'd even agree that the action sequences are pretty tight and well choreographed. I do think that the action, when it's present in Season 2, is pretty good and interesting. Granted, you still have to suspend disbelief and just accept that everyone on screen's a fucking moron at all times, because even right away, even in the 2 episodes I was praising, there's a scene where the Marines are in a dark tunnel, and there's a Covenant on the other side, and they know there's some danger out there, but instead of turning on their light, they just keep going in like groups of two or three into the darkness to die. Like they're being led by Noah to get on the ark. 2 by 2, they just go out there and just get fucking slaughtered by the Covenant in the dark without ever turning on their flashlight, which they have. They have the technology to turn on a fucking flashlight and they just don't. Because, fuck you, that's why. It's silly. But again, the action sequences, I do agree, are tight and well choreographed for the most part. Anyway, I'll go ahead and start by saying a few things I think Halo Season 2 does well. And the biggest thing, the big standout here, is Ackerson. Ackerson is a villain that was present in Halo lore before Season 2, and he is played by an actor named Joseph Morgan, who is actually a fan of Halo. And you can feel it through his performance. He does a great job at being the villain. And I think he was a really helpful component of this season to bring in what he knew from Halo to his role. And that really helped elevate it. Ackerson was by far the best part of Season 2, hands down. Another thing I think they did really well is actually Master Chief this season. And not so much the way Master Chief is written, but Pablo Schreiber, I'm not sure how you say his last name, as Master Chief. There are a couple of really great moments with Pablo as Master Chief where I was like, damn, if he just had some better material, a better story to work with, he'd be a great Master Chief. Like, I really bought into him as Master Chief in this season. I was like, damn, this could be the guy. Like, if we had a good Halo show, if we were in, like, the multiverse where there was a good Halo show, and Pablo was spearheading it, that shit would be a banger. I think he really does get it as Master Chief on what that role would require. I do think that in a Halo television show, you can't have him in the armor 100% of the time. In the first season, I was like, man, he should always be in the armor at least 99% of the time. But in Season 2, seeing Pablo as Master Chief out of the armor, I still got that from him. Every scene he was in, even without his armor, which is pretty much the entire show, he's only in his armor twice, pretty much. No, 3 times, actually, I think. And the rest of the time, he's spent just human being. He's just spent as John. And I still felt like, damn, that's the Master Chief. So he did a great job, really, of embodying that character, even outside of the armor. It's just such a shame that it feels like it comes in a losing effort here, because everything else around these 2 characters is just not good. I mentioned that Season 2 took some of the characters that had these really boring side quests that felt really insignificant to the plot, like Soren, like Quan, and it took these characters and put them into, like, the actual main juice here in Season 2. And I really appreciated that effort, but it didn't seem like they were able to commit to just actually having them as a front and center component of the story. Instead, they're still, like, off on their own little adventures half the time that you just don't care about when you look at the actual meat of this. The Covenant are about to get to the Halo ring. The humans are losing. Reach has fallen. Like, all of these really big things, and then you still have to go watch Quan see ghosts. You have to watch Soren and his wife try and locate their son. Like, that is so underwhelming when put against the big stuff. I'd rather those characters be brought in and contribute to the big stuff as opposed to just kind of being there and then still doing their side quests. Oh, I also did forget to mention one other thing I think they actually do really well. It is a huge spoiler, though, so this is your spoiler warning. The Flood. I thought they crushed it with the Flood. I was shocked by how well they did the Flood here, so I won't get into any more detail than that. I won't dive, like, super deep into spoilers, but I actually thought they handled it really, really well. Impressed with that. But honestly, it actually makes me more upset that there were some good moments here and some, like, actually very impressive shots, because it showed what could be if the rest of the show could just follow suit. There are some elements here that work pretty well, more so in season 2 than season 1 had. Like I said, it is an improvement. And it showed that there is the real capacity to create a great Halo show. But it's just not this. I don't know if there's just too many cooks in the kitchen working on this show or what, but there are some wonderful shots here, and then there is some stinky shots here. There's some good writing here, like with Ackerson and even some of Master Chief's lines, and then there's some terrible writing here, like with some of Kai's lines, and I'm not going to get too deep into spoiler territory, but some other horrible writing choices. There's nonsensical plot holes that are present and never addressed. It's just such a mixed bag. It seems like there are people on board this team that get it and can deliver great Halo content on the television screen. But there's just too many other moving parts behind the scenes that overwhelm that and lead to what you ultimately get here, which is an unsatisfactory season of Halo yet again. Even with all this said, I do think with the finale of Season 2, if there is a Season 3 of Halo, it's actually in a good spot to pick up and be entertaining and actually be pretty solid. I think if there is a Season 3, if they can just dial in on what worked for Season 2 and take it from where the finale ends on their high notes, we might actually see the first good season of Halo. I don't know if there's going to be a Season 3 or not. I don't think it's fully confirmed. It's mainly still speculation right now. But yeah, I guess maybe I'm just being overly optimistic, but it's just there were some good moments here, and I just hate that it's still overall not good. Like, it's still bad. I don't think it's worth watching. Like, I don't think by any stretch of imagination Halo Season 2 redeems this show and it makes it worth the slog of getting through it. It's not. But Season 3 of this show could be decent with where it's at the moment. Anyway, though, maybe I'll get into like more spoiler heavy stuff about all the things I dislike about Season 2 on stream or something, but I won't do it here because I know people don't like to hear spoilers and all of that during these things, so I'll just leave it there and I won't continue ranting about it anymore. That's really about it. So yeah.
I'm not exaggerating with the title. This is an honor I don't bestow upon things willy-nilly. I think most of you know that. For me to claim that something is the worst I've experienced in whatever category, that is an honor that is extraordinarily rare. It's like being knighted by the Queen. To be the worst movie I've ever seen, you have to move mountains. Because I see so many bad movies. It is one of my favorite pastimes is watching bad films because I get a lot of enjoyment out of a really fun bad movie. And I see so many. And of every movie I've ever seen, Amazon Prime's War of the Worlds is the worst. It has now taken that crown, which was a crown worn by what I still believe to be one of the most bafflingly dog-shitty movies ever produced, called Let's Be Evil. It wore this crown for 9 years. It had a good run. It should be very proud of itself, but on August 4th, 2025 years after the death of Christ, we have now found the worst film that humanity has produced so far. I wrote down a lot, so we're going to really dive into the spaghetti and the meatballs here. Spoiler warning. Don't think you should care about spoilers, but they're there anyway. I really am not exaggerating with how unbelievably horrible this film is. And it's not even like it is objectively the worst thing film has ever been used for. Like, there have been worse productions, but this is an insult to the entire medium of making movies. It's not a movie. What you're watching is one big ad for Amazon. War of the Worlds is a property that's somewhat sentimental to me, and to see it bastardized and perverted into this homunculus that Amazon molded it into is nothing shy of criminal. If aliens truly did invade this planet and exterminate every single one of us, not even they could wipe the stain of this film's existence from the galactic tomes of time. This has been so catastrophically abominable that I think just the existence of this film has set our species back hundreds of years. It is unreal that this even got made. And I looked it up. Apparently this was made back in like the pandemic, so like in 2020, and they just squatted on it, kegeling it in their colon for the last 5 years, and then just randomly decided to drop it now. I don't know why.
it should have just stayed there. They should have buried it. This should have never seen the light of day. This is a tomb, a sarcophagus we should have never opened. So, War of the Worlds, I'm being very literal, is an advertisement for Amazon. It's an affront to the entire art of making a movie. Anyway, let's go ahead and cannonball into the pool here. It stars Ice Cube, and the film tries to be creative by emulating what some films have in the past with something like Searching, where it's all presented through a computer display. So you're seeing Ice Cube and all of the events unfolding and all the characters through FaceTimes and emails and anything that's on his monitor. So you see Ice Cube through his webcam, and that's how you experience the movie. It was a clever gimmick when it was used in Searching. In here, it's just really annoying. And the movie actually feels like it's written by a 13-year-old who just learned how to code with C#. It's all about hacking. Ice Cube is like an expert hacker in a DHS program that's spying on everyone through mass surveillance, and he can actually do anything. He is basically omniscient. He can hack every possible atom on this planet, and he can see every nook and cranny of this world through computers and drones and even just air itself, it seems like. There is nothing that escapes his gaze. And the film, what you'll notice right away is it looks terrible, atrocious. And I don't mean that by just big budget standards. I mean by even like indie and student film standards. The visuals here are so bad. Look up any scene from this movie, probably even in the trailers. I haven't bothered to check the trailers. Lord help us. I can't imagine consuming more of War of the Worlds beyond what I've already consumed here from this. But like, look at any scene from this film, like when the aliens are present. It really does look like this was thrown together in one afternoon. It looks like previs. It looks like Sonic the Hedgehog before they redesigned him. Like, it is just hard to look at. Like, it's painful. It looks like PlayStation 1 cutscenes used to look. I cannot believe that they actually gave this the green light to be viewable by us. I feel dirty for watching it. It's so incomplete looking. I don't even know how you make movies look this bad in this day and age. Like, even just your stock assets that you can just freely use look so much cleaner than everything here. And the crazy thing is, it uses so much CGI. Almost the entire film after the aliens arrive is showing you aliens and destruction and CGI explosions, and there's even like a drone sequence laser fight, and it really does, I'm not like exaggerating, it really does look so bad. Like, it looks like they made the whole film for $10. Like, they just hired a couple of people from Fiverr and gave them a week to work on it. That was the deadline. I don't know how they could possibly achieve such bad visuals. And this is an Amazon Prime movie. What the fuck? They have actual infinite money. Unbelievable. This movie is like if Birdemic was an ad for Amazon. And I haven't even begun talking about the unhinged insanity that is the plot. But before even getting to that, it's important we make a mention, nobody in this movie is acting. Like, the acting is a word that must have been forbidden on set. All they are doing is reading plainly from their scripts with no acting except for Ice Cube occasionally doing the eye twitch. That's it. There is no acting in this movie. It feels like what AI would generate if you asked it to make like a War of the Worlds Amazon Prime ad and like you wanted it to star Ice Cube. What the fuck are they doing? Like, this must have just been like a really easy paycheck, but they also just didn't even want to put in the bare minimum for it. Like, I feel like the talent here was kind of embarrassed to be working on it, so they didn't really want to give a ton of effort. That's how it comes across. So now, with all of that out of the way, let's talk about like the narrative. So the movie starts with Ice Cube. He's in his lair. He's spying on everyone, which includes his son and his daughter and his daughter's boyfriend. His daughter is pregnant. Her name is Faith. And he's a real grumpy guy after the passing of his wife. And he sends her messages on Facebook. Of course, it's not reciprocated because she's dead. He listens to an old voicemail about like taking out the trash and being nice to the kids.
which is an interesting thing to have to remind your husband to be nice to your children. Well, yeah, he is an unreasonable asshole to them. He even, like, calls his son... Well, actually, he hacks his son's computer so he can uninstall a video game from it. He just randomly hacks into his son's computer, saw that he was enjoying a video game, uninstalls it, and says, "You need to get a job, you loser. You fucking bum. You're a loser. You're a loser. We paid $200K for your education. You're a fucking loser. Get a job. Get a job." And then hangs up on him. He really just beats the message home that he hates video games and thinks video games are dumb. But anyway, he's got a task right now at work where he's trying to catch the Disruptor, a hacker who's threatening to release classified government documents through a YouTube video. So he posts a YouTube video. It says, "I will be releasing top secret documents about their Goliath program." And so now Ice Cube has to stop him from releasing those documents. So he tracks his IP through the YouTube video using his elite hacking tools, which again it's basically God mode. He is a server admin of life. Ice Cube he literally just types in words. So he types in like "disruptor home address, please get," and it's like calculating, IP gotten, here's exactly where Disruptor is. And he can do that for anything. He can type in anybody's name, literally anybody's name, and it somehow gets the exact person he wants it to be, even though obviously other people are going to share that name, but somehow it always hones in on the right person and then gives him like the closest drone so he can spy on them, or the closest like CCTV camera to spy on them. Like the technology it's like fucking Fantastic Four level almost, where you can like teleport and shit basically. Like they've reached quantum surveillance. So anyway, they've got Disruptor's IP. They then go and storm the IP there. But before that, of course, he needs to hack into his daughter's computer because he learns from her boyfriend that she's having a baby shower and he didn't get an invite, so it made him upset. So he hacks into his daughter's computer using TeamViewer, where he uses his tools to generate a master key to TeamViewer so he can log into anybody's account with the master key password. So now he's on his daughter's computer reading her messages, and he starts feeling bad because she's like, "My dad doesn't get it." And he's like, "Oh man," as he's hacked into his daughter's shit. So now, anyway, we learn about Mark. That's her boyfriend. He's an Amazon Prime driver. He's an Amazon delivery driver who really likes Prime. And one of the lines that they reuse like 6 times is like his son Dave says, "I really think you're overdoing it, Dad. We don't need the government to be, checking out what we put in our Amazon cart." Any opportunity to wiggle the word Amazon out of every character's mouth with a little positivity following it was taken in this film. So Mark really likes being an Amazon driver. Ice Cube gets a message from a NASA contact of his, and she's analyzing weird, wacky, freaky weather phenomena. And he doesn't really care. He doesn't want to watch that. He says, "I spy on people, not clouds," or something. Anyway, they go to the Disruptor address. Turns out Disruptor was a step ahead of them. It was a decoy, one of his infamous decoys that he's become known for. But while they're there, the aliens crash land. A bunch of meteors start crashing, and they're blowing up buildings and cars, and people are freaking out, going crazy, because everyone's under attack. And they show you so many sequences of the carnage, and I am not exaggerating again, it looks so bad. Like, think about Sharknado, but unironically. Like, with no self-awareness. And used primarily to try and get you to buy Amazon Prime. It's like vomit-inducing how awful it is. Like, in one of the clips, by the way, to showcase the acting prowess that people brought to the table here, in one of the clips, the news reporter is filming one of the meteors, the aliens, crashing into a school, and she goes, "Wow, this one just crashed into my kids' school. They're all dead." And she says that deadpan, super calmly. Her kid was at that school, is now dead along with all the other children, and that's her reaction to it. And then they cut to the next sequence of terror. It was so crazy. But anyway, now everyone's in a panic, so Ice Cube's getting called in by the government, the president, everyone, all the moving pieces, and they all do it through Zoom, a Zoom call, so that way we can watch it, because that's how we're experiencing this film. We're a computer screen, basically. So anything on there we see,
and everyone is always FaceTiming and on Zoom, which is probably the least efficient way they could be communicating, but they're doing it for our pleasure, not efficiency. So they start working on the Planetary Alliance. That took 5 seconds. The whole world unites to form the Planetary Alliance, basically on that call. And they start trying to figure out what they do next. So the big thing is the Planetary Alliance decides, let's start fighting back. So they get the tanks out, they get the jets out, and they're taking the aliens down almost effortlessly. So Ice Cube is watching like a real-time sports tracker of victories versus defeats that is calculating every victory and every defeat across the globe, and we are slaughtering the aliens. Like, we are absolutely clapping their cheeks on our home turf. We got like 100-something victories to only like 40 losses, and Ice Cube's main thing that he does for this montage is he just goes, "Yeah! Damn right! Take your intergalactic asses home," was one of his lines. So he's basically just cheering him on. A lot of this movie is Ice Cube just like reacting to something. Like when the aliens are crashing and killing kids, he goes, "Damn, damn, damn." Like that's about all he does there. But now that we're winning, he's like, "Yeah." Anyway, though, during all the hubbub, his daughter gets injured when the aliens attack, and she gets a big boo-boo to her leg, and she's bleeding, and it's very intense. Ice Cube doesn't want to lose his daughter, so she's FaceTiming her dad and, worrying that she's about to die. And Ice Cube's like, "Don't worry, I'm going to come get you." For the first time, he's actually about to, leave the office, but it turns out he's locked in. So he hacks it to let himself out, but then he's locked in at the lower levels, too. So then he gives up and immediately goes back to his chair. And then he's like, "All right, don't worry, I've got another idea." So on FaceTime, he got her location, used the drones, saw that there was a Tesla nearby, hacked the Tesla, and then got her to get in the Tesla and drove her away with remote controlling the Tesla to get her to a hospital, but all the hospitals are full, so now he recruits Mark to go save his daughter, Faith. It's like the worst attempt at trying to get you emotionally invested because you just do not care, because it really feels like Ice Cube does not care. There is no emotional weight to anything here. It is so stale and so flat. It almost felt like they were laughing while filming this. Like they knew how bad it was. So anyway, now his daughter's, she's in a pickle, but Mark's on the way and he works for Amazon, so he's basically a fucking superhero. And during this ride, as he's remote controlling her to safety, because she was about to just get killed by the alien, she gives him a lecture on how powerless he is. So he's apologizing for being a bad dad, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, who ordered the Yappuccino? Jesus Christ, old man, you just don't get it. After mom died, you thought you could save her, and then you thought you could save the whole world, and then you thought you could save anybody, but you can't. Get it through your thick skull, you can't save anyone, you are powerless, move on." And she drives that point home as he is literally saving her life. Without him, she would have died. He is literally saving her as she is giving this lecture. It's very hypocritical. I don't know what they thought they were cooking with that, because it didn't really match the scene. So anyway, he gets on the horn with the president because the things are all cattywampus, and they're starting to fight back, and that's when he gives the title drop. He gives the name drop, title of the movie. He says, "All right, I see no other option other than to initiate the War of the Worlds," about the Planetary Alliance stepping up their counteroffensive against the aliens, which I guess was a really cool moment where you're supposed to pump your fist. "Yeah, initiate the War of the Worlds." Dave then calls his pops. He lets old man Ice Cube know that he knows more than Ice Cube thinks he does. He's not just a video game playing dweeb. He knows why the aliens are here. They're after something called Goliath, which interestingly is what Disruptor kind of mentioned earlier. We'll get to that in a moment, but there might be a bit of a plot twist coming up if you can connect the very subtle dots. So Dave is talking about "Dad, you need to trust me. There's something called Goliath and the aliens are here." But Ice Cube is like, "You're a fucking moron, son. Get it through your thick skull. I'm so disappointed in you. You're a gamer. You make me sick. Don't you ever call me again." And then hangs up on him. He just berates him again and then literally hangs up on him. As his daughter is bleeding out and shit, he doesn't even care about the safety of Dave. He's just "Can you stop fucking calling me? Stop it, you play games, I don't want to hear from you." And Dave is trying to let him know, like, hey, look, there's something we could do here. Like, I know what's going on. And then it turns out the aliens, as they're getting their shit pushed in by humanity's weapons, they change tactics and start targeting data centers. And they put their tentacles into data centers, and they start hyper downloading all of our data, which ends up draining all of our data, which shuts off the military. So they hit the power switch on the military, and then spontaneously every battleship, every plane, every helicopter falls out of the sky or blows up, and now we can't fight the aliens anymore aside from just small arms fire on the ground. Everything else is now shut down because they drained our data centers. And interestingly, it's like they forgot this plot point. I'm getting ahead of myself, but just know this was a crucial moment where they turned the tides. The aliens turned the tides on us by draining all of our sweet data. So the NASA lady was at one of the data centers when this happened, and she noticed these little bugs. Little bugs like to eat data. They consume it. They like data. And what happens is she connects the dots is that they're here for our data. They must eat our data, and they must like all this data we have on all of our citizens and all of the people across the globe. They want our data. And as they continue draining us, they make a mention that all money in the world is gone. Money has been erased. Oil tankers are blowing up. And we've been set back to the Stone Ages. Lights are turning off. The world's gone dark, in their words. It really feels like, I'm not kidding, it feels like this movie was written by a child. Like, everything happens like this, too. Like, the aliens come, and then we shot them with tanks, and they didn't like it. So what they did is they shut down the military. They turned off the military, and then they erased all of our money, and it disrupted the chain of command, and then all the lights turned off, but because of our data. It's so bad. It's so, like, bafflingly bad. I cannot believe a human being wrote this. Like a real sentient person. Like, this could have been written by an alien. Like, it might have been. I don't understand it. Also, Facebook is being deleted. This was a crucial moment. Not only is all money being erased, but websites are being erased. Facebook is getting deleted, and Ice Cube is there on his wife's Facebook page, taking one last look at it as messages are vanishing. He's listening to the audio message again, and then it does the classic cliche as it turns off. And then it vanishes, and then 404s. But it's not every website. YouTube actually still exists because that becomes a crucial plot device here towards the end of the film. But Facebook is gone. So Disruptor goes live on YouTube, and he mentions Goliath. Like, the aliens are here because of Project Goliath. The government knew Project Goliath would summon the aliens because they love data. The government knew that more data would mean aliens will full-scale invade us. And then the big reveal, Ice Cube figures out Disruptor is his son. Who could have seen that coming, huh? That's quality writing right there. It was really subtly planted, but they pulled it off. So his son then tries to convince him that the government is lying to him. The government is, not super trustworthy. And Ice Cube's like, get out of town! What are you talking about? You're fucking stupid. You're like a gamer and shit. I would never trust you. You're a criminal now, actually, too. This is stupid. No, there's no such thing as Goliath. They wouldn't lie to me. And his son is just like, look, Dad, listen, I'm going to send you Goliath. Just take a peek. And he's like, okay, buddy, but I already know there's nothing in here that's going to convince me. He even says that verbatim. There's nothing in these files that will convince me that what you did is right. And he opens the files, and the first line is about, like, the Roswell crash, I think it was. It was like an alien crash, and it said, like, weird weather phenomena, aliens, and data. In one sentence, he goes, oh my God, my son was right. The government's been lying to me this whole time. He read a sentence, one sentence, and immediately he's like, oh my God, he's absolutely right. And then, of course, he scrubs through the other alien pieces and then learns Project Goliath is a big data collection program, exactly like his son was saying. I don't know why he was so adamant about it being far-fetched conspiracy theory mumbo-jumbo, because his son was just telling him, like, Dad, Goliath is all about collecting our data on a bigger scale. Like, Goliath is, like, really big mass surveillance. And he's like, that's just not possible. I am the mass surveillance, and there's nothing more advanced than what I've got. Like, I don't know why that idea was so, like, incomprehensible to him, because he already has all of that basically at his fingertips. The only difference with Goliath is that it could also read people's thoughts, kind of, like it analyzed their thoughts better. So, like, it was only, like, one step forward where Ice Cube already was, and yet he's like, that's just a conspiracy. Nope, that wouldn't happen. The government wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. We don't do anything like that. They wouldn't do that. It was just so weird. I don't know why I'm harping on that so much. The whole movie fucking sucks. There are so many inconsistencies and so much wrong with it, but that in particular really stood out to me. Anyway, we then learn that Briggs, who is one of his contacts we've seen throughout the film sporadically, is actually the guy who spearheaded Project Goliath and was fully aware that by launching Project Goliath with this mass surveillance, the data collection was so grand in scale that it would summon aliens. Don't know how they knew that. There is no explanation for how they fucking knew that this level of data collection was what would be the beacon to bring all of the aliens to fucking spring break over here to eat it. I don't know how they analyzed that, but they knew that if they launched Project Goliath, it'd be a full-scale invasion. Even Briggs knew and just didn't care. He didn't give a fuck. He said, let them come. We'll beat them on our turf. Which we were until they sucked our data, which, of course, they knew was going to happen because they're drawn to data, yet they're all surprised when they go suck our fucking data. Like, they're on here on our cocks here, literally sucking the life out of our dicks with all this data, and they knew that, yet for some reason did nothing to stop that. Oh my god, it's so fucking dumb. Anyway, Ice Cube confronts him directly. He knows all about Goliath. Briggs says, alright, you're out of line, you're fired. Revokes his access to everything, all of his tools. He can no longer be the big-time hacker. Until 2 seconds later, his son Dave hacks the government and grants his dad full access to everything. And then they team up. And now they're both disruptors. So they come up with a plan to make a rabbit virus that will poison the data that the aliens are eating, thus poisoning and killing the aliens. But they can't do it alone, so Dave brings in his hacker friends, the disruptors, and we meet the other elite hackers, like Code Crusher and Starfire. I shit you not, those are two of their names in the hacker group. It's painful. It really is painful. So they get together, they work on the rabbit virus while they're making the rabbit virus, which by the way only takes 2 minutes, but within that 2-minute time span, Ice Cube decides he wants to make a YouTube video. So he hops in Adobe After Effects and he makes a YouTube exposed video on Briggs, releases it on YouTube, exposing Project Goliath and Briggs, and the entire world watched it instantly. He posted it, the whole world watched it, he posted it on the Disruptor YouTube channel. The whole world watched it, and now everyone knows why the aliens are here, and they now hate Briggs. So, he got his revenge, and he revealed the truth to everyone about Project Goliath. And now the rabbit virus is done. Again, all of this basically happening instantaneously. So, the rabbit virus gets uploaded, but it wasn't enough to stop the aliens. All it did was make them mad, so what they did is they hacked the hackers before the hackers could fully hack them, and then they use the IP addresses of the hackers in the Disruptor group, and they go blow up their houses. So we watch Starfire get blown up, and then, God rest his soul, even Code Crusher perishes under the might of the aliens and their fury. So they die. So now they need to come up with a new plan. Dave survives, by the way. Turns out he was actually bouncing his IP address from Ice Cube's house, but really he was at a dude named Brian's house. So after Ice Cube's house gets blown up and Ice Cube thinks his son died, all Ice Cube can do is this and go, damn. But then his son calls him. He's like, no, Dad, I'm actually fine. I was over at Brian's house. I just bounced my IP. So Ice Cube gets the family together for a FaceTime. Mark has gone and stopped the bleeding from Faith's injury, so they're together. They're fine. That whole side quest has been completed. And he gets the family together for a FaceTime call because the NASA lady has just informed them that the little bugs actually have DNA. They are organic cyber hybrid beings. So they can be killed, is the conclusion they reach. And they have a method. Turns out Faith, his daughter, was working on something called the Cannibal Code, which attacks 6 cells in a body. So they decide, let's rewrite the Cannibal Code to attack their cells and kill the aliens, since they're organic too. So they do that immediately. They literally rewrite this code instantly. And it's perfect coding. But there's another problem that arises because the government's decided to bomb the Goliath building, which is the building Ice Cube is in. It was actually underneath his feet the whole time because the government now knows it's going for Goliath. All the aliens are converging on that building to suck Goliath dry of all that precious data. But this is where things get weird. They have bombers bombing aerial vehicles that are about to do this. How? They've already established that none of their air vehicles or air units, any vehicles in the military work anymore because the aliens sucked our data. But they have these bombers, and they also have drones that Ice Cube and family can access. Yet they had already made a point about how that's not possible because the aliens sucked our fucking data. But they totally forgot and just said, maybe people have already fallen asleep by this point and won't care. But I was awake the whole goddamn time watching this. They totally forgot that a plot point was they can't use these crafts. Because if they could, then it wouldn't matter about the data because they were beating the fuck out of the aliens using these vehicles, using all of these aircrafts. So if they still have access to aircrafts, who cares if they go towards Goliath? Just blow them the fuck up. That was the whole reason, the whole point of trying to fight back with poisoned code is because we no longer have access to the military because of our sucked data. But now we have bombers that are going to go blow up Ice Cube. Just fucking blow up the aliens if we still have this ability. It's, oh my god, it actually made me upset. So, anyway, they rewrite the code, but Ice Cube has no way of taking that code and injecting it into Goliath downstairs because they don't allow thumb drives in the secured building. But, and this is where it gets so fucking shameless, but Mark has a thumb drive, and Mark works for Amazon. And you know what else Amazon has? Prime Air. So Mark gives a whole sales pitch about how Prime Air works and how he can give the thumb drive to the drone for Amazon Prime Air and fly it to him just like Amazon Prime does. And I'm not kidding, he gives a sales pitch. And then he takes the Amazon Prime drone and he flies the thumb drive over to Ice Cube, but not without some really intense dogfighting where the aliens are laser beaming at Mark flying the Amazon drone, but it's just too good. It's much more effective than all of the government planes, it seems, because they were just getting blown out of the sky with lasers at one point. Meanwhile, Mark, who is not a fighter pilot, he's something far stronger, an Amazon Prime drone delivery expert. He's dodging all their lasers, he's doing fucking barrel rolls, and then Dave is hacking nearby drones in order to blow up the aliens that are attacking Mark's drone. Again, how is he even able to access drones? That shit shouldn't be working in the first place, what you've already fucking established here. But anyway, Mark's made it to the building, but he hits something on the way in, and his drone flips over, and he can't flip it back. But luckily, they get to see that there is a man taking cover nearby through the camera of the drone. We get to see this. There's a man taking cover nearby, so Ice Cube instructs Faith to hack into the guy's phone and send him a text message asking him to flip over the drone. So she does. She hacks into his phone, sends the text message. The guy checks his phone. He says, "No way, are you kidding me? There's aliens here. I'm going to die if I do that." And then Mark says, bribe him with he didn't use the word bribe. Mark said, offer him $1,000 Amazon gift card. So she does. She sends him a text offering an Amazon Prime gift card for $1,000. And he instantly sprints over there. He reads it, sprints over, he flips the drone up for the bribed $1,000 Amazon gift card. So then Mark continues the mission. He delivers a thumb drive to Ice Cube. He makes it to the Goliath interface. And then as he's approaching the Goliath interface to plug it in, the tentacles are getting all up in his ass. And he's reaching heroically to plug in the cannibal code. And he does it. But then the feed cuts. But all the aliens start dropping like flies. They've done it. Cannibal code was a great success. The aliens are dead. Our data is still not safe. They still have all of our data, but the aliens are now gone, and they abort the bombing mission, so Ice Cube gets to survive. And then the bad guy, Briggs, gets arrested, and disruptors are now hailed as heroes across the globe. And then there's like a special mention about like how important privacy and data is. So like the government's calling on Ice Cube saying, "We thank you for your service. We'd like you to come up with a new surveillance system that takes privacy into account. because we think privacy is important now. And Ice Cube says, no, that's not my style anymore. Now, instead of watching people, I'm going to be watching you. And that's the end. That is Amazon's War of the Worlds. There's a lot that I just omitted, by the way, because it is just so unbelievably uninteresting and just downright insulting to the entire act of making a film that I just didn't even put it into the notepad. There is literally nothing redeeming about this film. The only positive I could almost squeak out here is that it is enjoyably shitty. Like, I do think this would have been a lot of fun to watch with friends because there is so much to laugh at and make fun of. But watching it on my own, sometimes it actually just made me mad. Like, it is crazy how bad this movie is because it is really just like an ad being shoved down your throat, but in the form of a movie. Like, I do actually think that this is probably the start of where we see advertising go, where they disguise movies as ads. Like, they've already made this huge push for AI-generated ads, like, across the board. I keep seeing that pop up. I think they will also use AI to AI-generate movies that are actually just ads as well. It is just incredibly bad. That's really about it. It is the worst movie I've seen. See ya. What's the best Goofy movie of all time? For the millionth time, it's Moonfall. There is no movie... I will just say there is no movie more entertaining than Moonfall. There is no movie that will keep you talking for as long as Moonfall will. There's nothing even close. He's the tier 1 good man. Should I watch Moonfall tonight? Yeah. I'd say don't watch it alone. Watch it with a friend. You guys will be spitballing theories back and forth on what the fuck you just watched. When's the watch party? Hey man, they still haven't updated watch parties. Like I said, I'll do it the second they actually make watch parties like an actually good feature on Twitch. But it is highly neglected. Have you heard of a movie called ZYZZYX Road that grossed $5? Yep. That's infamous. Everyone knows that. Oh, I guess maybe not. Chat doesn't know that. There's a movie called ZYZZYX Road. I forgot who's in it, but it had one big name. Oh yeah, Katherine Heigl. It came out 06 and it made $30. $5 per theater that it was shown at. $1.2 million budget. I think it is, to this date, still the biggest flop in cinema history. I'm pretty sure. Wasn't the producer trying to make it flop? That just sounds like cope. That just sounds like a villain, like, it was all part of my plan. In fact, I wanted to lose over $1 million on this movie. You fools played right into my strategy. I think what actually happened is just nobody wanted to see it. It's a terrible name. ZYZZYX Road? It's a stupid name. The trailer's trash. Oh, here, I see. It's shown once a day at noon at Highland Park Theater in one auditorium rented by the producers for $1,000. The limited release was deliberate. Grillo was uninterested in releasing the film domestically until it underwent foreign distribution, but the film needed to fulfill the U.S. release obligation required by Screen Actors Guild for low-budget films. Budget's less than 2.5 mil. The strategy had the side effect of making it, at the time, the lowest-grossing film in history, earned $30 at the box office, from 6 patrons paying $5 each. And he even refunded 2 tickets because the makeup artist saw it with a friend. It's still not the biggest financial loss. It is the lowest opening box office. I don't think there's any box office performance lower than $30. Not for a budget over $1 million. But yeah, if we're talking relative flops, it's not the biggest by far. Worst $5 they ever spent. Disagreed. All 6 of these people are now part of history. Remember that Kevin Spacey movie that only made $600 in its opening weekend, Billionaire Boys Club? True. Here, let's just look up the biggest flops. Waterworld's notorious. Here, let's do the estimated loss. Wait, estimated loss for one of these movies was $88. The production budget was $46 and it made $8. So how did they lose 88? They never even saw 88. Oh, Millions! Oh my god, Millions. I thought this was just dealing with low-budget films I should have looked up 47 Ronins here. That's the Keanu Reeves movie. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was like, oh, so they're counting indie movies. Never heard of the Baron of Munchausen, whatever that is. Oh, Mars Needs Moms. I remember this. I never saw it, but I remember the trailers. Mars Needs Moms.
Eat that. You're not gonna make me eat it now, are you? There's no good thing to say.
This looks great.
I'm sorry. Mom? Let her go!
I need to watch this. I still need to watch Norm of the North as well.
I'm in a spaceship. This is so cool!
Use the Polar Express technology. Okay.
I'm just messing with you. Welcome to Mars. My name is Gribble. This is Two Cat. What's your handle?
Milo.
How about I call you my bro? Check it.
Wow.
What is going on?
Damn, this is killing it.
Mars need.
That's pretty hype. I've heard of Tomorrowland. I saw this movie in theater opening day. I went to a church. There was a church near my old apartment that would play movies. They'd have like one movie per auditorium. They had like 4 auditoriums, but you could see the movie for like $3. So I saw this opening day with Andrew, and this is still his most hated movie of all time, I believe. He was so offended at how trash this movie was. I'd never seen him so upset. I even think he went home and made a whole video about it on his channel. Ooh, Turning Red flopped. Twitter was in a frenzy about this movie. $175 million budget and only a $20 million box office? Holy shit. Whoa, that can't be right. What? No. Oh, it was straight to Disney Plus. Oh. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. This is probably what scared them off of doing more straight to streaming videos or movies. Like theatrical release plus streaming. This right here probably scared them. Good lord. This looks awful. Let me see. This is actually a great movie. Whoa! That's Matt Damon? No. Take me. Yeah. This looks cool. I'm just watching an AMV. Damn, why did this flop? That actually looks good. I'd probably like that now. In the year 3028. Holy Jesus Christ. A masterpiece that destroyed Fox Animation Studios. Rough. This is a new video too. He also must have been going through the biggest flops of all time and caught Titan AE caught his attention. Mulan, yeah, that deserved the flop. This movie was so bad. $200 million budget with $70 million box office. That sounds beautiful. That's great news. This movie was terrible. Man, Disney's got some of the most prolific flops on here. Pluto Nash! Let's go! I used to like this movie as a kid. Ah! A $100 million budget and a modest $7 million box office. Wow. Man, we don't have any Pluto Nash fans out here?
Eddie Murphy.
Oh, this is so early 2000s.
Pluto Nash.
It is a pleasure to meet me.
The battle between Pretty Evil
Let's get it right this time.
and Pretty
Pluto Nash was better than John Carter.
Look at me.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we were thinking a little more. You married twins, huh?
No, they're not twins. I met the perfect woman and then I had a clone.
Which one's which?
Damn, I don't remember this movie at all.
The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
Why don't you take these Hillarys? We appreciate you helping us out.
I can't believe that movie flopped. That's a pretty big flop too. 100 mil to 7 mil. Yuck. Final Fantasy. What? What is this? The Spirits Within. You're telling me they made a $137 million Final Fantasy movie and I'd never heard of it? What the fuck? No, I never even heard of this.
Always the same.
So is it just an original story? Must be. I don't recognize any of this. Yeah.
Don't see how any living thing could survive out here.
Yeah.
Came to uncover an ancient truth.
I feel like Final Fantasy's strong point isn't going to be like a self-contained original movie for Columbia Pictures. So I imagine that probably just wasn't very good. Oh, yucky. That's a rough one for DC. Wonder Woman 1984. Yeah. That didn't pop off. That movie was awful. A Wrinkle in Time. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. This is that fucking movie where they say the name Charles Wallace 10,000 times. I forgot all about this one. Oh, this was miserable. I know it's for kids, but Christ, it was bad. Jesus. I bet Artemis Fowl is going to be on here pretty soon. Terminator Dark Fate. Not surprising. Matrix Resurrections. Yep. Fucking yep. Not as big of a flop as I would have expected, but wow. What a remarkable disservice to the entire fucking franchise. Sucked ass. It was so dog anus. Like, I couldn't believe it. I don't know how you fuck it up this bad. There wasn't a single thing in this movie that worked. It was like it was directed to be awful, like on purpose. And I saw that cope from a lot of people like, well, actually, the Wachowskis have outdone themselves yet again because they meant for this movie to be terrible. And thus, they succeeded and created a masterpiece. It's like, well, you made an awful movie on purpose. You fucking wasted my time then. Like, maliciously. Like, in the very first couple of scenes, they do this thing where it's, like, really meta. Where they're talking to Warner Bros. They're like, Warner Bros. Needs more bullet time. They need more action. They need more green binary. We need action, bullet time, because we just gotta pump it out. Don't care if it's good, just pump it out. Lickety split. And it's supposed to be, like, really meta. And that's exactly what they did. They just made nothing but awful bullet time, horrible storytelling, no message, and everything falling to shit. And some people acted like it was so genius for them to, like, include that scene where they're openly mocking how little effort they put into it. No, this one hurts. Moonfall flopped. We may never get a sequel. Oh, casual $100 million loss. Oh, God, why is there no justice in the world? This should have been on the top 50 highest grossing films of all time. Worst comes to worst, I'll make a petition. Those usually work. We need a sequel. They set themselves up for an entire Moonfall universe. Like, we have to realize that potential. We can't just let this masterpiece slip away. Is Moonfall your Morbius? I mean, that doesn't even encapsulate my feelings. Moonfall is the perfect bad movie. Every possible thing that could be horrible about a movie is present in Moonfall, but done like it takes a savant to do what Roland Emmerich did here. He took everything that makes a movie good and shit on it, but with like the most beautiful shit I've ever seen. It's like 2.5 hours and it feels like 20 minutes. You go on like the most amazing ride through delusion. I just don't know how to explain it. It's such a beautifully awful movie. Oh, I used to love this movie. You're telling me Stealth flopped? Wait, this movie was so cool. I watched this shit like 8 times. And there's that scene when Jessica Biel's like underneath a waterfall in a bikini, and I was still pretty young at the time. I was like, whoa, them honkers though. Like this movie's about like a secret super special jet plane that gains sentience. And I remember there's a scene where the main character, Josh Lucas, he's like looking at I forgot what they call it. What's his name in this movie? Eddie. He's looking at Eddie out the window and he's like, Eddie, what are you listening to over there? And he's playing like really good music, like rock music. And he's like, I'm listening to my favorite song. He's like, how many songs did you download? And he says, all of them. And then he blasts off listening to a song that's called Bulletproof Skin by a band called Institute, which isn't really a big band or song. It was so cool. I loved it when I was young. Oh, they even have a Bulletproof Skin AMV for stealth. Let's go. I don't know this one. We're getting into some obscure ones. Treasure Planet, this is actually tragic. I still think this is probably one of the best animated kids movies Disney's ever done. Like, it's so good. This one is a very sad story. It should have been one of their biggest grossing ever. Why did it do bad? You talking about Treasure Planet? There's actually a really great video on why Treasure Planet failed and why it shouldn't have. Failed because audiences didn't want 2D movies at that point. I don't remember all the factors that went into it. I really don't know. But this movie is an absolute masterpiece. Oh, this is the newest Fantastic Four. I never saw this, but I heard it was a beautiful stinker. Is this like a fun bad movie or just really not worth watching at all? The entire chat is just saying it's boring and just bad. 47 Ronin's sad because it's Keanu Reeves in this movie, from what I understand, was actually good. But I still haven't seen it. It's a cool concept. Like, I think it's a really interesting idea for a movie. I just haven't seen it myself yet. Chaos. Oh! Tiana was watching this and she said she fucking hated it. Yeah, this movie, the Tom Holland one, what a beautiful flop. $100 million budget, $27 million box office. I think it was only streaming. But yeah, this is that movie where men have like stink on them. And there's like no women on their planet. So then there's like a woman that gets introduced to the planet and she has no stink or something. Like, what is it? I forgot. Like, they can hear thoughts, like their thoughts surround them. Men have transparent thoughts. It's their thoughts. Horrible way to explain it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get it. I didn't watch all of it. Neither did she. Turned it off. It was just bad. It was just really bad. Monkey Bone's a good movie. It's Brendan Fraser. It shouldn't have flopped. Tragic. Wow, that's a colossal flop. $75 million budget with a $7 million box office in 2002. Or 2001. That's prime movie-going era. I know Monkey Bone's credited a lot for Brendan Fraser's downfall in Hollywood, but I just don't agree. This was a good movie. Did I see this movie? Does anyone know? Did I make a moist meter on this? I don't know if I saw this. I have to look this up. I genuinely don't know if I saw this, but I feel like it's something I absolutely would have seen. Oh, that is such a dangerous search. Holy fuck, I did not think that through. I have so many porn deepfakes. Oh my god, that was close. I'll do Xander Cage. Wow. Yikes. We're fine, though. No. It looks like I never saw this movie. This is kind of cool. It's a 2002 action thriller directed by that name, under the pseudonym of Chaos. Oh, I need to watch it. A voice crack. I need to watch a trailer.
A former FBI agent named Jeremiah X.
Sworn enemy.
Antonio Banderas at his best.
This woman's single.
Can you believe this is what trailers used to look like? This was normal.
I need you to find her.
Of course you do.
Wow. Look how far we've come.
My
We're evolving.
Tell him why you look so sad. I'm told it was because you just got beat up by a girl.
This kind of just looks boring bad, but maybe I'll watch it at some point. The Mummy. Yeah, this movie was terrible. This is the Tom Cruise movie. I wanted it to be good. It stood no chance of being good. I knew this was dead on arrival from the second they accidentally released the trailer with no music or sound effects, and it's just Tom Cruise going, "Ah!" in a plane. They did that. I forget that 2017's 5 years ago, so a lot of people just don't remember. Yeah. The first trailer that came out for this movie, they forgot to put all of the sound effects. So it's just Tom Cruise in a plane going, "Ah!"
What the hell?
So you can see why my expectations were so high going into it. I saw this in theaters with Andrew. This is another really enjoyable bad movie. I can't believe it made $150 million in the box office. I think they're lying. I genuinely, there's no part of me, there's no universe. Like there's not a single dimension where this movie made more than $50. Again, it was just me and Andrew in the theater watching this. and no one has ever talked about it since. It is a really fun, bad movie. I saw this in theaters when I was a kid. Hated it. Absolutely hated it. Glad to see it flop. This was terrible. This had Tim Allen doing his absolute best to try and stay awake on screen and failing. Even when I was a kid, I was like, man, this guy sucks. I liked Home Improvement. I loved Tim the Toolman Taylor, but I was like, damn, this guy does not want to be here. It's bad. It's really bad. Let's do like any random zoom scene. That's not gonna work anymore. We'll do zoom movie scene.
Just like riding a bike.
The story is he hated being a hero or some shit. I don't remember why his brother didn't age, but Tim Allen's like 80.
Actually, it's Zoom. Suit looks good.
Nice suit, lizard boy.
Welcome back, Zoom.
Let's play ball.
Goddamn. Yeah, movie's awful. Glad to see it flopped. We've all wasted money on something at some point in our lives. I know I'm guilty of that. I once spent $200 on a pocket trumpet that I never learned how to play, and then an additional, like, $150 on a theremin that I only tried to play a couple of times and never mastered. And these two items now just haunt my shelves in the closet. Big waste of money, and I do regret it. Of course, this is going to vary from person to person, but I can say with a high level of confidence you have not wasted as much money as Universal did for the rights to The Exorcist. 400 million clams in order to buy the rights for The Exorcist to make a trilogy out of it, and the first movie just dropped called Exorcist Believer. And I'm here to tell you after seeing it that this was the worst money ever spent. They blew their load with 400 mil and had nothing left over for writers, so they really relied on ChatGPT to scrap something together. This is laughable. This movie did not make me a believer in the future of this franchise. It made me a believer in true evil in Hollywood to allow this type of fucking terrible blemish to exist. This film is insulting to the legacy of The Exorcist. It is by far the most influential horror movie ever made, The Exorcist I'm speaking about, and to have this movie now coming out, even though I know the second and third Exorcist movies aren't exactly the best, this is so much worse. They could have spent $400 million for the rights to Jimmy Neutron and made a Hugh Neutron spinoff, and it probably would have been higher quality than this. And they had self-reflection on, like, the importance here of what they were making. Jason Blum of Blumhouse, who was a producer on this film, even said that it's the riskiest movie he's ever made. Just because it's so expensive, usually the bar to success on everything we do because it's inexpensive is incredibly low. For The Exorcist, it's high. And that's an understatement. It's extremely high. And man, did it fall flat on its fucking face. Now let's dive in. I'd like to explain why I think this movie's so bad and perhaps the biggest waste of money I've ever seen from a Hollywood gamble. So, I'll go ahead and tell you there's two compliments I can give this movie. I'll start off with the good here before getting you with the knuckle sandwich with the bad. The good. It has an interesting premise. It has a couple of interesting ideas. And best of all, it's not that long, so it ends pretty quickly. That's, of course, relatively speaking, it's about 2 hours long, but by modern movie standards, that's pretty quick these days. Everything wants to be like 2.5, 3 hours all of a sudden, so at least this is refreshing that it's only 2. Those are the only compliments I give it, and one of them is just that it ends, so you can leave and forget that you ever watched it. The biggest sin this movie commits, though, is being a fucking snooze fest. It is just unforgivably boring. If I didn't drink some Gamer Supps before going to the theater, I probably would have fallen asleep there trying to stay awake through this one. So I'm going to shout out Gamer Supps, because big W from Gamer Supps here. I had some titty milk, which is one of their flavors, before going. I know if I just say titty milk cold turkey like that, you won't know what I'm talking about. It's not real breast milk, that's just one of the flavors Gamer Supps offers, and it's my personal favorite one. I highly recommend Gamer Supps. I fucking love it. If you want to get some free samples, you can click the link in the description below. It's completely free, not even a shipping cost. Gamer Supps will just send out a bunch of samples for you to try, and you will most likely enjoy them. And yeah, if you also just want to use my code, it's code MOIST at gamersups.gg in order to get a discount on any of the items you might want to purchase. So Big thanks to GamerSups. I am going to be getting into spoilers here, so this is your warning. I can't talk about what makes this movie so bad without some spoilers. Sorry in advance, but this is your warning. The film's plot. It follows a widower who has a daughter who really wants to meet her mother. And one day, after school, her and a friend go into the woods to perform a ritual to try and communicate with her mom. Obviously, things go south. It leads to a possession. And instead of one possession, one person being the victim of a demonic possession, it's both girls. They both become possessed. And I do think that's an interesting idea. Albeit, I don't think it's the most creative idea like some people are making it out to be. All it did was say, what if instead of one, there's two? What if we just... two of them? It's not exactly a galaxy brain scheme. It's just they added another character to be possessed. And then the other character, that's not the widower's daughter, is kind of an afterthought. In fact, her entire family is an afterthought. You probably won't even remember their names by the time the film's over, because they give them no time to develop, and they have nothing to do here except fucking endlessly whine. They're just these personality-less drones, like these forgettable side characters that pop up occasionally in Skyrim to say a few lines before going along their way all robotic, never to be seen again. That's that entire family. So it feels like, why even bother with two possessions if you're only going to focus on one of the families? It just doesn't make a ton of sense. I do think the dynamic of a double whammy possession could have worked well, and it does to a certain extent sometimes work decently here, if they had just given it more care. Like, there's definitely potential here that wasn't realized at all, really. But, like, there were a couple of decent moments with the two possessions, especially towards the end. I could see some glimmer of possibility with this idea. Aside from the lip syncing sometimes, it makes it very clear that it's dubbed. So if you've seen The Exorcist, if you've seen any fucking possession movie, you know how it goes. They'll have a demon voice coming out of the child's body, and in here, sometimes the lips don't match up with the words, so it really feels like a poorly dubbed Team 4-star moment sometimes. Like, how could you even let some of that slide? It's very obvious. Also, speaking of things without a purpose in this film, they brought back Ellen Burstyn from the original Exorcist, so it shows you that this is a direct sequel, and unfortunately, Ellen Burstyn has nothing to do here. They did her dirty. It's downright disrespectful because she has no role to play in this film. If you took her out, the entire film plays out exactly the same. Not a single iota of difference, whether she's here or not. It's purely as a, like, point at the screen cameo moment. Like, oh, I know her. That's it. Nothing else. It's pathetic, really. Like, it feels like it's misleading advertisement because she's in the trailer quite a bit, but she's not in the movie at all. So I already gave you the spoiler warning. All she does is serve as a brief side quest where Victor is trying everything to get his daughter back and out of the hands of the demon. He eventually finds her through, searching around. Victor then goes up to her, fills her in on the situation. We learn that she and her daughter Reagan aren't on good terms and she hasn't seen her daughter for a really long time. She agrees to help Victor and goes to one of the girls' houses, Catherine, and attempts to save her from the demonic presence. But in doing so, Catherine stabs both of her eyes. So now she's blind. And then that's it. We don't see her again until the very end. She exists solely in this film to get her eyes popped like bloody water balloons. And that's it. It just feels like such a waste to even have her here. This feels like a role they wrote before she had committed, so they wanted to make sure that if she said no to the role, it wouldn't change the outcome of the film, so they just gave her a throwaway role to play here, which is just, it's super dumb. It really is. But I wanted to point that out because that really stood out to me. There's just so many characters in here that actually don't serve a purpose. Like, I don't know why they're even bothering to put them in the film in the first place. But anyway, her eyes getting stabbed is one of the very few times that something even happens in this movie. I mentioned that it's boring, but I mean it is turbo boring at times. It had me wishing I was back in college listening to a professor lecture me about the Krebs cycle. That would have been more entertaining than some of these sections of the film. Now, the beginning of the film is spent trying to develop the characters a little bit. It's kind of like two different movies slammed together. The first half is trying to find where the girls went and what could have happened. The second half is then all of your generic horror movie tropes fucking crashed together haphazardly. And the first half I've seen get a lot of praise. You won't see it get any praise from me, though. I think everything it wanted to do in the first half was not done very well. Like, I think the intro is good, but then it doesn't really get you hooked on these character relationships. Victor and Angela only share brief exchange before Angela and Catherine go into the woods and go missing. And Catherine's family is basically just fucking ghosts here. You know, like, you barely even see them. And when you do, they do nothing but just go, ooh, and then you just, forget about them. But, like, there's not a whole lot of time spent developing these characters before they go missing. Now, of course, there's some development while they're looking for them and searching, and when they do eventually find them, trying to piece together what exactly happened. But I just don't really see where people are coming from when they're talking about how great this first half was. Because I just don't think it was done very well at all. It could have been done much better. But anyway, let's start talking about the worst parts of the film, and that's its attempt at horror. I say attempt because I think it just fails completely at delivering anything that even resembles horror. It tries to rely on jump scares, but doesn't know how to do them. It's like they don't know what a jump scare is. So what'll be happening is characters will be having just a normal conversation or normal things happening, and then all of a sudden it'll just flash a couple of images at you like you're playing the Scary Maze game from back in 2009 or whatever. Like, they'll just be talking, and then all of a sudden, scary image. Ooh, look at this creepy figure, and here's kind of a loud noise. But they were mid-conversation. It's not like a jump scare. They were actively talking, and now all of a sudden there's just like a weird thing on screen and a louder noise. That doesn't like startle anybody. Like, they weren't well-executed jump scares, and executing a jump scare is the easiest thing in the world. Just go silent, and then bang, huge noise, crash fucking 10 trash cans together with this huge noise and the creepy face or something. But they don't even do that. They just randomly, I guess maybe bad editing is to blame, but randomly just start putting a couple of flash creepy images with like a slightly louder sound. So the jump scares don't even work, and that's the only thing it ever really does for horror. The suspense doesn't exist in this movie. There's no such thing. Like I said, I do think the child actresses do a decent job of like looking creepy and like moving around creepy occasionally, but even that isn't utilized very much because they're very quickly bound to chairs and then spend like 35 minutes being bound to chairs as people recite prayers around them. I'll get to that in a moment though. But yeah, I really don't know what people would find scary about this. And that's not just coming from like I'm a tough man, look at my machismo, I don't get scared at horror movies. I just really don't think they even attempted anything here, unless you were just really, disturbed by the sound of a heavily filtered, creepy sounding voice, I suppose. But like, I'll give you another example of something they tried to do that I think was supposed to be scary. Victor's brushing his teeth and the lights keep flickering. Literally like the scene out of SpongeBob with the hash-slinging slasher, and they turn around and it's Nosferatu. That exact scene happens in here. Victor's brushing his teeth, the lights are flickering, he's looking up, the lights keep flickering, he turns around, and it's just Angela flicking the light switch on and off, and he's like, hey, cut that out, let's go back over here. And then he goes back to it, and the lights start flickering again, and then she just goes, what did you say? And like, that's the whole scary scene. It's like, what the fuck was that? Like, that was lame, super lame. And then there's another scene where she like attacks Victor, but it's not even like startling or a jump scare. She like comes up behind him and like attacks him super quickly, and then that's it. And he's fine, and then she just closes the door. Like, it's all just, I don't know. It feels like they didn't know what they were doing, so they just went in on filming days and improvised. I have no explanation for it, because it's like they didn't even try. Also, this isn't exclusive to this movie, but I am so fucking tired of the trope that when you're dealing with a possession, all you need to do is speak sternly to it to get it out. So, when Ellen does actually go and confront Catherine for a moment, her strategy is, hey, get out of there! Hey, quit goofing around! That body belongs to that child, Catherine, not you! Get out of there! Scram! Get out of town! And the demon's like, no! Like struggling around and like falling and flopping like a fish out of water. It's like, what? Why does that work? Like, why is this doing anything at all? Unless it was also pranking her. But even still, that's so silly. It's so stupid. Like, she's not doing anything besides just speaking to it like a disappointed parent. Like, oh, come on now. Quit with this nonsense. Hey, come on. Like, it's just, the way that demons are fought in possession films, I think is just the goofiest shit ever. They've got to find other things to do to fight demonic possessions. Like just saying its name and it like vanishing and like screaming, ah, it said my name, the human said my name, ah, and then like burns back to hell is stupid. And then just them saying, hey, the Lord doesn't like what you're doing there, so get out of there. It's like, no, ah, it sucks. It sucks. And I just needed to point that out. So let's just, I don't even know why I'm getting so into the weeds here. The movie just sucks. But let's just talk about the end here. Eventually, they tie both of the girls to some chairs and they're trying to perform a ritual with like a ton of different prayers, a ton of different belief systems that they're all throwing their way to try and get the demons to leave. Eventually, it's not working. So what ends up happening is a very powerful pastor comes in and he touches both their heads and he's like, Christ says, get out of there. And the demons are like, no. It's like everyone's getting really optimistic because it's finally working. They're going to get their daughters back. But then the daughters snap his neck with like telekinesis. So he dies. It's the only death in the film. And it was a pretty gruesome death. I didn't expect that. So that one actually caught me off guard. That was a pretty decent moment, actually. And then they never do that again. They just go back to just sitting there laughing. Like, well, not even laughing. Like there's a scene where they're getting some like water tossed on them and they're like screaming in agony and like there's a burning sound, but they're totally still fine. And they're just, my big problem here is the demon at no point was in any danger of actually getting exorcised at all. But for some reason, they kept pretending like they were getting somewhere. And then eventually the demon says, you must make a choice. One of these girls will live and one of them dies. You choose. Why? You could just have both of them because they have done nothing to actively stop you. Like they have not been able to effectively fight you. So why all of a sudden would you give up one of the girls? It didn't compute. But not only that, I'll fast forward. That was the big gamble, the big moment like, oh no, we're going to have to make a choice. And it ties into something that happened in the intro of the movie where Victor had to make a very hard choice. That I won't spoil because it's the biggest twist of the film. But anyway, it's a choice like, oh, we have to choose one. I can't choose. No, it's not right. Well, we can't choose between our daughters. But then eventually, the whiny dad of Catherine says, I choose Catherine. So then Angela is about to, supposedly die. She eventually like levitates and then pukes onto the ceiling, falls, and we think she's dead. But then what ends up happening is Catherine dies instead, and now Angela is no longer possessed. Well, why? So the demon just let itself get killed? Like the demon just said, I'm out, bye? He's just like, all right, this was a fun game. See you guys. I had a good time playing. Like, why? It doesn't make sense. Why would he do that? And why did he keep letting himself get caught? All the demon does is talk shit. The demon's entire purpose here is just to be an annoyance, a nuisance, flicking lights on and off, filling up the bathtub with dirty water, saying some profanity here and there. That's it. Like, it's just a prankster. It doesn't even do anything. It's not even, like, that evil. It only defended itself when the pastor was about to, like, get rid of it, so then it killed the guy. Other than that, it just kind of, like, chills out. Well, and I guess when it stabbed the lady's eyes. But aside from those two instances, all it is just a bother. An annoyance. And now all of a sudden, it's like, it's had its fun, so it left. Even though they have done nothing to actually get rid of it, or actually make it want to leave. It just did. For no reason. It was so unearned, it was so unsatisfying, so unfulfilling, and so lame. Like, I don't even know how they're supposed to turn this into a trilogy. How? The only thing I could see them trying to do is be like, oh, Angela actually is still possessed. He's just hiding himself better now. And that, of course, is probably the direction it's going to go, which is the laziest direction, but the only one it can go. There's no other options left for it, so they've already spent $400 million on this. They're going to fucking make a sequel, and then a sequel after that one. It's going to be a trilogy. I feel like there's no way they pump the brakes on it, even though this is flopped. They're going to have to because they're already so deep in the hole. I just don't know how they even try to salvage it. I don't see how. This was terrible. It was actually terrible. Laughable, even. People were giggling at this movie. It's not good. Like, I can't believe they spent $400 on the most iconic franchise rights and blew it this badly. It's just, I don't know. It's crazy to me. But I wanted to talk about this because I think this is probably the biggest waste of money I've ever seen in Hollywood. So that's pretty impressive. That's about it. See ya.
You all know how much I love horrible, bad movies, and I am just giddy with excitement right now to talk about a movie I just saw that I now consider to be the goofiest film ever made. I just got back from the theater from seeing Moonfall, which is Roland Emmerich's new disaster porn. He's the man behind, like, 2012, Day After Tomorrow, some classics. And with this bad boy, he has created the stinker masterpiece, a smelly magnum opus. This movie, I can't even believe actually exists. I saw it in IMAX because I don't like to just watch a bad movie. I want to feel a bad movie, and goddamn did I feel it deep in my ass. This was an absolutely wild ride from start to finish. If somebody asked me what the best movie ever made was, I'd say Moonfall. If someone asked me what the worst movie ever made was, I'd say Moonfall. I don't know whether to give Moonfall a 100% on the moist meter or a 0. This fucking thing was so beautifully awful in all of the perfect ways. I just can't describe it. It is the actual perfect storm of dog shit put into film. The movie was like 2 hours long, and I swear to God, it felt like 20 minutes. I was upset when this movie ended. I just wanted it to keep going and going. This movie could have ran 8 hours, and I wouldn't have complained if it kept up this intensity. It was an amazing experience. So, spoiler alert, I want to go into it. I really want to fucking peel apart these stinky cheeks and tell you all about this movie start to finish. And let me just go ahead and say, this movie had the audacity to try and hint at a universe, like a Moonfall extended universe, kind of like the Marvel or Star Wars universe they created. Moonfall did that towards the end, and I need a sequel. The human race deserves a sequel to Moonfall. So let's get into it. So the movie starts with our main character, Brian, played by Patrick Wilson, in space with our other extremely important character, I forgot her name already, but played by Halle Berry. That's another thing about this movie. I saw it with Andrew, and the second we left the theater, we couldn't remember a single one of the characters' names apart from, like, Brian and the cat's name, which was Fuzz Aldrin. So, like, that's another thing. Like, all the characters are super forgettable. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson's character, they're in space working on the space shuttle. And there's another character there with them that's helping, and then all of a sudden, a massive cloud of space dust blasts the ship. It tears it to pieces, knocks out Halle Berry, and it sends Brian, like, scrambling to get inside. And then the other guy, who I don't even know if they even gave a name to, his line gets cut, and he just gets sent, like, quadruple backflipping through space for all eternity and dies. And then when they arrive back at Earth, they blame Brian for the whole event, despite there being camera footage of this space dust being the culprit, destroying the ship. They're blaming Brian. They're like, you are a disgrace. Your negligence caused the death of an astronaut and the destruction of so much money worth of, NASA parts. You're going off book now. Get out of NASA. So then he gets fired. His wife leaves him. His kid hates him. He's now like this drunkard who is really just scraping by and struggling. For some reason, the whole trial was public and he's insisting he was innocent. It was this very strange technological space dust that just fucking flew through like a fart. And he traced it back to a corner, like a quarter of the moon called like Mars Capri Sun or something. I already forgot the name of it. But no one believed him. Everyone mocked him. He got fired. His life ruined as a result. And then we're introduced to a very important character called KC. KC is a conspiracy theorist who really cracks the code that the moon is falling out of orbit. And KC believes it's because the moon is actually a megastructure put there by aliens. So he has his own little group of conspiracy theorists that also believe in the megastructures. And he tries very hard to bring this information to NASA to let them know that the moon is out of orbit, shit's gonna get rough. So just like in Majora's Mask, the moon is coming closer to Earth, and the closer it gets to Earth, the worse it is for humans because the gravitational pull from Earth will rip apart the moon, sending all of these giant chunks into the planet, destroying pretty much everything. A doomsday event, an apocalypse. And no one's believing KC, even though he has all of the research and evidence to back it up. So eventually he turns to Twitter. And he makes an anonymous post with all of the evidence, and miraculously overnight, the entire world believes him. It becomes the #1 trend, and every single news outlet everywhere is talking about it. NASA comes forward to corroborate it. Now everyone knows, yep, moon's about to fuck our shit up.
So then they all try and come up with plans, and I swear to God, every character in this movie makes the stupidest decisions at every possible moment. It blew me away. It's like every character, even the ones that are supposed to be smart, like the scientists, are like lobotomized zombies. They get nothing right. None of it makes sense at all. But even suspending disbelief, you can't help but just sit there and scratch your head like there's no way they just said or did that. Like, I'm trying to sum it up to give you the cliff notes before I like start really dissecting it. So once it's been confirmed that the moon's coming to the Earth, Brian, the disgraced astronaut, teams up with Casey. They hang out for a bit, and then Halle Berry, who's still employed by NASA, just out of nowhere sends a helicopter to pick both of them up to help them defeat the moon, because now the moon's like a raid boss. So then they come up with a plan to like take an EMP device to the moon. Everyone believes them now. Also, NASA confirmed all of this and then like really figured they needed Brian's help because they sent like a crew of 3 astronauts up to check out that crater, and then the giant space dust came up in the shape of like a goddamn ringworm, and it kills all 3 of them. So then they conclude like, yep, there's something weird and wacky going on with the moon. It's got some kind of artificial intelligence living inside of it. So then that's when Brian and Casey come. My God. I really want to get deeper into it, but I want to give everyone like the full overview of the movie so you can see it. This whole movie is like taking the insanity of a Neil Breen movie, but giving it $100 million to realize the craziness. Better example for all the weebs. If you've seen Gurren Lagann, where they start like underground, and then by the end of the show, they're in space mechs throwing galaxies at each other. It's that, but for pseudoscience and conspiracies. It's fucking mind-blowing. So Brian, Casey, Halle Berry, they're at NASA. Everyone knows Doomsday's coming, so they're all for some reason taking refuge in Colorado. The word Colorado must have been mentioned 1,000,000 fucking times throughout this movie. This had to be just some kind of propaganda to increase tourism there or something. And also you see Kaspersky on billboards, and apparently all of NASA is powered by Kaspersky antivirus, because every time they fire on a computer it just says Kaspersky. And that's all there is on the screen. It's just like they look at Kaspersky and things start helping. But I keep getting too specific. Again, everyone's at NASA. They come up with a plan. They get this old EMP device that they're going to take to the moon and blow up the space worm. And this also confirms that space dust that blew up the ship that Brian was on initially were nanobots from the AI. So they've got the plan. They've got the EMP. They've now got Brian to pilot it. But something goes wrong. The moon's getting closer, so an earthquake happens, and it cracks the coolant in one of the engines, and it plays out exactly like this. I'm not exaggerating. Halle Berry and Brian go up to check out what's going on. One guy says, the coolant's leaking, and I don't know how to fix it. No one here can really fix it. And she's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. She's like, all right, well, that's the end of the mission. I guess everyone needs to go home. So every single person at NASA, except for Halle Berry, Casey, and Brian, as well as 2 other data analysts and a couple of military guys, all leave and abandon the Earth and just like, yep, I guess we just have to accept this is the apocalypse and there's nothing we can do. Just because one of the coolants was leaking a little bit, and then the solution, I shit you not, was we'll just fly without it. Apparently the entire time they could just fly without it because the moon was close enough, and Casey knew that and then relayed the information a little late to Halle Berry, and she just didn't bother to call anyone back. She's like, all right, well, I already told them they can leave. They can go. We can do it ourselves. So then we get our heroes strapping into the spaceship, ready to take on the moon. And as the moon's getting closer, it's causing gravitational disturbances. So there's water that's getting sucked up, and it's like giant waves of water that are just standing there. And those 2 like data analysts that stayed behind that I briefly mentioned, they get evacuated. They get into a helicopter with the military people because the waves are getting closer as the moon's passing over. And I can't even believe this fucking happened. They take off with plenty of time to escape, but instead of going away from the waves, the goddamn pilot kamikazes into the waves, and it's supposed to be this emotional moment of, oh my God, there is no escape. But like you can see, when the helicopter takes off, it could have just gone right, but instead inexplicably just goes left into the waves. And I'm missing so many impressive details. Brian's son, who hates him, went to jail. Brian got him out of jail. And for some reason, the military flew Brian's son here just to be in like the middle of the shitstorm. So Brian's son's there and then needs to take off in a car away from the facility as the waves are getting closer. But instead of taking off, he goes to a mountain and parks just to check out his dad's spaceship as the waves are getting closer. So the spaceship takes off, it's beating the waves, but his son and then Halle Berry's son is also with him, and then their babysitter are all just in this car, outside of this car watching. And then eventually the kid's like, all right, now it's time to probably go. As the waves are literally like bashing the bumper of the car, it's like, okay, we've had our fun. So then they engage on this high-speed chase against the moon, and then they eventually get hunted by people that are like scavenging for parts. Oh my god, it's so much. So everything on Earth's going to shit. The gravity's all fucked up. Halle Berry, Brian, and Casey are now heading towards the moon, and it turns out the AI that inhabits the moon is attracted to electronics, but only if there's organic life inside of it. So the EMP they brought is useless because the AI won't bite it. So they're using it like bait and trying to fish with it, but for some reason it needs to be inside of it. They don't explain why. The AI was circling it and like playing patty cake with the EMP, and they didn't blow it up for no reason. They just concluded that it needs to be inside. So they get the EMP back and go deeper in the moon, and it turns out the moon is actually a Dyson sphere built by aliens, confirming Casey's theory that also happens to grow potatoes inside of it for some reason. And it's a Dyson sphere encapsulating a white dwarf that it's using for its power source, and the AI is sapping the power from the white dwarf. And then the AI gets alerted to the crew that's in the spaceship that's flying around. And then a door opens in the Dyson sphere as the AI is tracking them, and it shuts, closing out the AI and then saving the crew. And then it turns out that the Dyson sphere wasn't built by just any aliens, it was built by ancient humans, and they communicate to Brian through celestial beams and flashbacks of his son talking to him, kind of like in Mass Effect 3 where the Reapers take on the body of a child. They did that for Brian in order to talk to him. It was a sentient AI being, like it was an AI construct for the Dyson sphere. It was built by humans that billions of years ago were spacefaring, hyper-advanced technological superstars, and eventually they created an AI that turned on them via kind of like Skynet, and it made all of them go extinct. But before their final extinction, they built giant moons that they would toss out to corners of the universe to try and remake humanity elsewhere. And this just happened to be the last surviving one, the only one the AI couldn't find until this movie. So that's the explanation there. Eventually they upgrade the EMP, the AI construct on the moon, like turbocharges the EMP, then gets some defense systems going that just start shooting bullets at the AI, and then they're escaping the moon. Casey blasts open the hatch with himself inside because he says, you know, an organic being needs to be with the technology in order for the AI to bite me. And he's like, oh my god, Casey's gonna die. Brian and Halle Berry are upset, and Casey's like, no, it's fine. So the AI starts eating him, and he's like, you underestimated us, blows up the EMP, and then, you know, Casey's dead, AI's gone now, so the moon is back. So then the moon leaves Earth, and now it's just this giant Dyson sphere that is now outside of Earth, and everyone's happy. Earth's super fucked. Everything flooded. Everything got absolutely destroyed, but there's still some people left, and now the moon's our friend again. And, yeah, that's not where it ends. So Casey didn't actually fully die. The AI construct on the moon installation actually copied his consciousness into their database, and now Casey has become the moon itself. And the last line is, we have work to do, which hints at expanding the universe and bringing all of the other AI that is still out there into the fold. And my god, I can't wait to see the sequel. I pray there is one, because this was amazing. I am not even doing this justice with my brief explanation. I need to get into the nitty-gritty of it to tell you just how fucking off the wall this shit was. So the billion-year-old humans, they basically just created Halo. They just stole Halo's plot for a little bit. The installations they made back then were Halo rings. They all lived on Halo rings. And the AI they made, for some reason, turned on them like Cortana. Almost in the same fashion. They deemed that humans weren't worth saving and that they were inferior to them, and just started wiping them out inexplicably. Like, this movie is fucking incredible. Like, the visuals were kind of cool. Like, you know, you always like to see those big budget disaster visuals. And when they'd have the moon peeking over the earth, it looked cool. And they had awesome lines such as, "Watch out, the moon is rising." And then all of a sudden, like, boats would be flying overhead. Fucking manatees falling onto the ground. Oh my god, it was so good. And there was like an advertisement for Alexis. Because when there was these people, the scavengers that were hunting down the son, eventually the son meets up with Brian's wife and her new husband that cucked him or whatever. And they're on this high-speed chase, and they can't get away, right? These scavengers, they're so fast, and they want their oxygen tanks. And they're in a Lexus, and they keep zooming in on the Lexus and like throwing it, drifting around. And the dad goes, "Hold on, I'm putting this into warp speed." And they zoom in on the Lexus logo, and then him turning from economy mode to sport mode, and then it fucking turbocharges and goes wild. Then they're able to outrun him. This movie, man, is actual fucking genius. Like, I can't talk enough about it. Every single moment of this movie, when you think they've run out of stupid juice, finds another way to make it even dumber. And I couldn't appreciate it more. I loved it. I fucking loved it. I don't even know how you make a movie this dumb. On accident, too. Like, this isn't a self-aware movie. There is no self-awareness in this movie at all. There's a couple of jokes, but they're not like self-aware jokes. They're just like general, decently written jokes. But nothing is self-aware. It really takes itself super seriously, and I love that about it. The best kind of bad movie is one where the director really wanted to do something special but just didn't have the talent or the vision to realize it. And this is one of those cases. It is, in every possible department, the best way to make a bad movie. It is the worst and goofiest movie in all of the right ways. I just don't think you could make a movie this stupid on purpose. This movie was just an amazing experience. This was something truly special. If you like bad, shitty movies, this is the movie to go see. This is going to be 2022's best stupid movie, I think. It would be tough to beat this one. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because I've had a smile on my face ever since leaving the theater. There's still so much more I could talk about with this movie. I've barely even scratched the surface of lunacy with Moonfall. But it's just, without you having seen the movie, it's not going to make as much sense. And sense is a word that is blasphemous to even use in the same sentence as Moonfall. That word never once crossed the mind of anyone who touched the script for this. The whole movie just felt like it was kids going and then trying to one-up each other. Nothing connects logically. Obviously, nothing here is mathematically, scientifically accurate, or even common sense accurate. Like, everything is wrong in the perfect ways. Like, for example, they're able to find everyone in the world just because. So, like, when they find Brian and Casey, they're in, like, this fucking random hotel somewhere, and somehow they just get found because. Or, like, the family is trekking through snow at the very end, and somehow they just make it to where they need to be without dying along the way and then get found. Like, everything, it just happens because fuck it. And I love that about it. It's so shameless in its horribleness. It was amazing. Just an incredible experience that I wanted to talk about a little bit. That's about it. See ya.
Madam Web is a movie a lot of people wrote off pretty quickly. The trailers are abominable. Let's not, beat around the bush here. And the press tour that Dakota Johnson went on, who was the lead for this film, was a real head-scratcher because she just openly seemed to despise the film with the way she talked about it. One of her interviews, she's like, "Yeah, I don't even know if the movie's good." And spoiler alert, turns out it wasn't. So maybe she really can see the future because she knew this one was a super stinker. This movie is a straight-up clunker. And this film was produced by some of the best in the business, Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless. Those might not be household names, but I promise you're familiar with their work. Their resume is nothing but heaters. Dracula Untold, Last Witch Hunter, Gods of Egypt, Power Rangers, Morbius, and Madam Web. They are, without any exaggeration, undoubtedly the Kobe Bryant and Shaq of producing dog shit movies. They only write horrible garbage.
and somehow they keep getting worse. Now, I wouldn't say this film is worse than Morbius, but I would say it's just as bad. It's not better, it is just exactly the same as Morbius in terms of how dog shitty it is. So it's really impressive that throughout this decade of Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless working in Hollywood, they have somehow found a way to start awful and find new ways of getting worse at it, and then accidentally making the Power Rangers movie that was at least pretty decent. I didn't hate that one. But everything else, everyone hates for the most part. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about Madam Web here. So, I'm not clairvoyant, but I think everyone's going to dislike this one because there's almost nothing to like about it. The actors and actresses in here, they really don't seem to try very hard at all, save for a couple of scenes, which I think probably were some of the first scenes that were shot when the script was different. As I understand it, this script went through a lot of changes from when Dakota signed on to what eventually got puked out onto the big screen here. So I think some of the good scenes where like the performances are actually giving a shit about what's going on were probably from the original shoots before everything got cattywampus and ruined somewhere along this messy journey. But for the most part, you're not even really watching superheroes versus supervillains. You're watching zombies kind of just speak at each other occasionally. It's like you're watching performances from people that are sleepwalking through their lines. There's really no true effort. And it's clear from the very beginning of this film. I wrote notes in the beginning because I couldn't believe what I was watching, and then at some point I got hypnotized and stopped writing notes, and then at the very end, after everything had happened, the dust started to settle as it was like wrapping itself up in the last 2 minutes, I just instantly fell asleep. Like, I didn't even feel myself getting tired. My eyes just closed and I was out for like 3 minutes until Aaron, who went with me, was like, "Charlie, you're sleeping." I was like, oh my god. I didn't even know. Like, my body shut down from like how confused I was that this movie even got made in the state that it's in. But anyway, very opening. This is in the trailer, that meme. He was with my mother when she was studying spiders right before she died or whatever. That line's not in there just like that, but it is in there in the same essence, just broken up. So from the very beginning, that bad guy Ezekiel's line is, "I agreed to be your bodyguard because I thought you were close to finding the spider that can give us the superpowers if we can use its abilities." And I think I was paraphrasing because that was a few lines. She interrupted him at some point. But his first line is, I agreed to be your bodyguard because you told me you were close to finding the spider that's going to give us superpowers," or something to that effect. And she's like, "It's a very elusive spider because it's so powerful and gives all of these superpowers." Like, there's no dialogue in this movie that would ever be something a single human being would say to another in the real world. It is baffling that anyone signed off on it. Because these aren't characters, they're just plot point vessels and nothing else. No character here has any personality whatsoever, especially not the 3 spider women that Madam Web is protecting. They don't get any fleshing out whatsoever. They're basically just 3 characters that need to be saved just because, and that's it. There's no real reason for it. And Madam Web is a very interesting case study here because she's a paramedic, thus her whole career is saving people, yet when it comes to saving these 3 spider women, she tries her best to just dump them off onto their parents, which is basically just a death sentence because they're being hunted by evil spider guy. So, like, I don't know what she thought would happen there, like the parents just hit spider guy with a frying pan to defeat him or something, but she does not want any part of this responsibility at all, even though her career is fucking saving people. She wants nothing to do with actually saving them and reluctantly does so. But I'm jumping all around now too. I'm so scatterbrained with how bafflingly bad this movie was. So anyway, like, even from the very beginning, it was clear that this dialogue was going to be terrible. But it somehow finds a way to get even worse than you'd ever expect it to be. But anyway, so after the mother finds the spider, she takes it to the camp and Ezekiel betrays her. He shoots 2 of the people. The mom goes, "Oh, jeepers, creepers, zoinks. What are you doing?" And she says, "I don't understand why." And then goes on to explain that this spider, if we can use its properties, can help people. And that's when Ezekiel, the main bad guy, gets his only amount of, even an iota of an attempt to give him a background story or any motivation or whatever at all. He says, "Not interested in helping people because no one helped me and my family when we were starving." And then he shoots her. That's all we ever get about him as a character. After that, he becomes bent on just killing the 3 Spider Women because he can't stop having nightmares about them killing him as like a prophecy that's going to happen in the future. We get nothing else about that guy at all. He is actually just cartoonishly evil beyond that. Nothing else. And he also fucking sucks at being a supervillain because he has like these superhuman abilities, but all he does is walk menacingly and crawl on the walls sometimes, and that's it. He at no point ever really seemed like a threat at all. Even for a second. There wasn't a single scene where I was like, oh shit, he's here. This is gonna be a tough one. Also, he can like poison people by like holding onto them, like gripping them tight. But other than his cheese touch and like the ability to crawl on walls, he doesn't really do much else as a supervillain, except whine. But anyway, I actually pretty much summed up the entire narrative here. The only thing I left out is how Cassie was born. So after the mother gets shot, it turns out she was pregnant, and the locals that were using the spider's venom for superpowers picked up the mother and then delivered the baby for her after letting a spider bite her, which of course gave Cassie powers, which didn't awaken until that accident that is now in the iconic viral clip that's gone around where as a paramedic, she tries to save somebody and then the car ends up hitting the water and she bumps her head and now she can see the future, kinda. So, that's the origin of her power, and the narrative is she can see the future, and at one point she sees these 3 girls get killed by a spider guy, and he's a bad guy, she doesn't like bad guys, so she tries to save the girls from him, and then she's just on the run the entire time. And the spider guy wants to kill them because he doesn't want them to kill him. It doesn't get any deeper than that, really. It's very surface level shit, and that's kind of the entire narrative in a nutshell, with tons and tons and tons of awful scenes that make no sense at all. But I'm not even gonna bother breaking those down for you because who gives a fuck? They didn't give a fuck when making it, so why should you, the audience member? I will say though, this film, for being a superhero film, has no action at all. In fact, none of the superheroes even fight the bad guy. And they don't even wear a costume or anything at all until the very last scene of the movie. The only thing you get for like a superhero showdown is in Spider Guy's visions, where he sees the 3 Spider Women like beat him up and then toss him out of a window. And that's like a 30-second scene. After that, they never actually fight him at all. What happens is when he shows up, Cassie hits him with a taxi cab at one point, and then that stuns him. And then he shows up again like 30 minutes later, and then Cassie hits him with an ambulance, which stuns him. That's the extent of their fighting. The climactic final showdown, he basically beats himself. So Cassie's using her visions of the future and like kind of positioning him where he needs to be for the environment to take care of him, because, you know, the environment's going up in flames. They did set up like some traps to a certain extent, and they kind of like give him obstacles to go through, but it's not really fighting him. It's kind of like Amnesia when you're running away from the monster, basically. That's how their fights go with the evil villain, until eventually the environment beats him, and then he gets crushed by a giant sign. It sucks. It sucks. This isn't a superhero movie or anything at all. This is a fucking slop fest, is what it is. It's not entertaining. Morbius, I would actually argue, was more entertaining than Madame Web, and that is saying something. But again, I don't think Madame Web is necessarily worse than Morbius. I still think they're about equal in terms of their shittiness. Another thing that's painfully obvious is that this movie did its absolute best to erase any and all mention of Spider-Man or anything in that universe whatsoever, and tried to keep all of that as minimal as possible, and you can actually feel some cuts where things were just scrubbed. So I truly believe the original vision for this film was something entirely different, and what we got is just a mess. And I'd like to give you a scene that I think perfectly encapsulates just how much effort went into this movie, like how much thought went into this movie at the end of the day. So while the 3 girls are hiding from Spider Guy, and I should explain, Spider Guy fucked an NSA woman and got her passcode to all of the cameras across the globe so that way he could track down the 3 girls from his nightmares. So he uses that technology to basically transfer his mind's eye image of these 3 women and get them in the real world, and he used the NSA computers to access all the cameras to real-time find them with his assistant. So that's how he's able to keep finding them. And Cassie and the gang knew that. They knew they needed to avoid cameras, and they eventually decided to go with Ben, who's Cassie's friend, and keep the 3 girls there while Cassie's doing some research of her own. And that's working really well. The 3 girls are at Ben's place. Spider Guy can't find them, and that's all, great stuff. And then the woman staying with Ben has her water break, and she's about to give birth. So now they're rushing to get her to the hospital. And by they, I mean the entire kit and caboodle. The entire group, for some reason, decides to accompany Ben and the woman to the hospital. So all 3 girls now get in a car and take off down public roads and immediately get picked up by cameras because fucking obviously they would. Why were they going with them to the hospital? I have no idea. They could have just stayed at the house because that was clearly working. And I don't know if I didn't hear the reason why they went with them, or if they just didn't even bother because they didn't think anyone would be awake long enough to even get to that scene. I don't know. But they could have just stayed at the house and been completely safe and avoided conflict with Spider Guy if they had just stayed there. Which would have been the logical thing too, because why does Ben want these 3 teenage girls accompanying them to the hospital in the first place for the birth here? There's no logic to it. Why would you just fucking stay there? Just stay there and wait. But anyway, they don't. That's just an example of how little thought even really went into the movie. I just don't see what the point of making it even was anymore. It doesn't tie into anything Spider-Verse related. It doesn't want to. It really doesn't want to. And it doesn't really want to try to stand on its own 2 legs either, so why make it? I don't get it. It's just another blemish on the record of this screenwriting duo that keeps making trash. I like, after seeing it, I'm just kind of at a loss for words for what they expected the response to this one to be, because I really can't imagine anyone sitting down and enjoying it. The biggest sin this movie commits is that it's boring. It's really boring. If you're going to a superhero film, there's at least a couple of things you expect, like the basics of having fights at the bare minimum. Morbius, for all of its flaws, had fights. This doesn't even have that. There's none of that. It's just the worst dialogue ever, constantly, and nothing more. And somehow, even with all of this dialogue, you still learn nothing about the characters. They're still so bland because they don't even give them depth or try to. It's just constantly either saying not good jokes or just saying a whole bunch of fucking nothing to begin with. So anyway, to sum it all up, Madam Web, not good. Boo. Pretty stinky. If I was to plug it into the moist meter, I'd give Madam Web a 15%, I would say. But yeah, I wouldn't even call it like a fun bad movie. It was just bad. I don't know if this one's going to pop off with memes like Morbius did, because there's really nothing memeable about it other than really bad dialogue and nothing else. It's, yeah. But we'll see. Anyway, that's about it. So yeah. I actually got you with a classic prank. I wanted to mention one more thing. By the end of the film, Cassie finally, figures out how her powers work really well, and she immediately uses it to be annoying. So, at the end of the film, she ends up going blind to match her comic book counterpart, and she immediately starts seeing the future for everything. And the way she applies this is the 3 girls come over with some takeout food, and she's like, "Oh, thanks for the," and then lists the takeout food, and they're like, "How did you know that?" And she just smiles, "I saw it." And then she says, "Bless you," to one of them, and she goes, "What do you mean, bless you?" Achoo! Predicting her sneeze. So she's using it just to be annoying. That's so hype. I mean, amazing. I just had to mention that. Okay, now that's it. See ya.